Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Sharifa and my poetry name is New Lily. If you're new to my channel, please check out the links located in the description box and comment section. And in both locations, you'll find an identical set of links. Links that lead to videos that talk about what started my targeting in 2020, as well as links that lead to videos that share information about the targeted individual program, information about the tactics used on targets, information about the technology used on targets, and information about the targeted individual program in general, y'all. Y'all, this is just more documentation of targeted abuse, PTSD trauma, reactions, and just them utilizing the cameras to try to create situations as usual. They're looking for anything, y'all. They're desperate. They want to keep me in the program. They have a problem with me, a personal problem with me, and they're literally looking for anything to validate them holding me for 6 years straight, y'all. Just so you can understand for context, this started in 2020 when I was age 29. I'm 34 now, y'all. And constantly they're throwing me references about settling down and marrying and you're getting older and sending me these type of references when they know full well that I'm trapped up in this satanic program. So anyways, y'all, they know that they have me trapped up in this satanic program and everything's blocked up. But then they would throw references about my age and the fact that I'm getting older. When you took 6 years from somebody who didn't commit a crime, who hasn't done anything wrong other than send an innocent text. But karma, y'all, I keep seeing karma take place left and right with some of the people that were involved in what happened to me. I have seen it. I've seen it. So anyways, y'all, So y'all, if you've checked out my videos, I didn't want to talk about it. The moment happened, a PTSD moment happened just now. I tried to play it off and I can't. My mind I overthink things. And also I'm being programmed constantly. They're doing MK Ultra programming. I've talked about this in prior videos, y'all. Look into MK Ultra programming. They're using high science technology. So they're microchipping you without your consent. It's basically sexual assault it's equivalent to sexual assault, microchipping you without your consent and putting technology in your body. And they're hooking your brain up to something called a computer brain interface, or BCI, brain to computer interface. If y'all check out the description box and comment section, y'all, of all of my videos, you'll see an identical set of links that lead to videos that share information about the technology that they use on targets. It's some high science satanic shit that they're using on targets. So it's brain to computer interface technology, and it's transhumanism, y'all. That's what it's about. That's the agenda, transhumanism. So they're moving towards transhumanism for all of mankind. So they want to microchip everyone, pretty much is what the plan is. And they want to hook everyone's brain up to a brain to computer interface and connect all of the brains. So let me show y'all something. I don't want to go off on a tangent. I want to talk about what's going on with me. I'm not trying to deflect from the main point of this video, which is talking about PTSD and trauma and being microchipped and programmed and what took place, the reaction I had just now. So I haven't forgotten, and I'm not trying to deflect from the point of the video, but this is all relevant, y'all. Let me show y'all something. And I keep taking screenshots of the things they're sending me all day long, y'all. All day, every day. I'm purposely taking screenshots of these things and saying, programming. This is programming. This is programming. There's a reason why I'm doing it. So anyways, hold on. About in this next video. So first of all, y'all, in the comment section, you'll see that I have a pinned comment, right? And you can see that it says link to my PayPal. That's the first comment. If you have the money and you can spare the help, I would appreciate it. I am making money right now, y'all. I'm not struggling as bad as I was a few years ago. But I did lose a night off of the schedule, and things are unpredictable when you're targeted. You know, I'm dealing with so many things, different things on a daily basis, y'all, that I'm reacting to. Nothing's ever set in stone when you're targeted. That's just how it is. You're constantly on eggshells and you're constantly like in this state of instability. So if you have the money to offer, I would appreciate it. I am trying to save up. You know, I really am. I have $500 in my savings. I sold my Jeep that went bad, y'all. Y'all heard the story in one of my prior videos about what happened with the Jeep. So I sold the Jeep. I was able to put $300 in my savings account, and I also put $200. So I started trying to save. I'm trying to save up, y'all. I don't know what that will do for me while in this thing. It's all consuming. And they can hold you as long as they want. You don't have to have committed a crime. All they have to do is have a problem with you, and they can hold you and do this to you for as long as they want to. So anyways, y'all, so then you'll see links like to videos talking about what started my targeting in 2020, y'all. I sent an innocent text summer of 2020. I had just graduated from college with a 3.5 GPA, and I moved home to teach. That's what I moved home for. I had a teaching offer in Florida, but there were some particulars that didn't align with what I was looking for. I was not certified. And so I would have had to, the person that offered me the position told me that she would have to hire me on, this was the loophole she found so that I could teach as an English teacher while working on my certification. She was going to hire me on as an interim sub. So basically I would be continuing on as what I was doing before, a substitute teacher, but I would be doing the work of an English teacher and getting the pay of a substitute teacher. So I didn't like the specifics of the offer, and I decided to come home. My mother was telling me she's teaching down here, I can teach down here, and she was telling me about how it works down here when you're not certified, and they give you something called a provisional certification, which is a temporary certification that you can use to teach with until you get certified. So it's not like you have to wait or work as a sub until you get certified. You can work as an actual English teacher with this provisional certification and then work on getting certified. So I liked that offer more, and I decided to move home, and it was history from there, y'all. I'm telling you, as soon as I hit the dirt, y'all, it was down here for a couple months, and I sent the text, the worst mistake of my life. There are several. There's like a handful of them, y'all. There are like 5. We all make mistakes in life, right? There are 5 core mistakes I would say that I made, specifically around the time when this thing started, right? But 5 core mistakes that I made in my life when the targeting started and during the duration of the targeting that I wish I could take back so bad, y'all. And they're just 5 in general. There are other things too not associated with the targeting, mistakes that I made that I wish I could undo, people I met that I wish I never met. Like, I'm telling you, there's like 5 things that I wish I could undo in my life. Anyway, so I sent a text, y'all. If you listen to my story, you'll hear the specifics, right? The text resembled something I was going through in Florida right before I moved home in a series of different Airbnbs I stayed in. What they created and derived from the text, y'all, what the thing manifested into, y'all, ludicrous. And then the hypocrisy of some of the things that they do during the targeting too, but acting like that's why you're holding me for so many years. It's just, they have a problem with me. It was years in the making. It's like some multiple people that I pissed off that got together and decided to do this to me. And that's pretty much what's going on. And then stupid me, I didn't know that I won't say stupid, I'll give myself some grace. I didn't know about this program. You're not taught about this in school. You're taught to stay out of trouble, do what you're supposed to do, and life is supposed to work. It's not, oh, you could piss off the wrong person and end up in this life-changing, horrible nightmare where you're locked down, and you can't get out and you can't get help, and nobody teaches you about this shit. It just happens to you. It's just something that happens. Like, it's such a disservice to not teach people about this. So the blessing for the people that I did teach in the past and anyone on island that's young is that they get to see this happening to me and know that this thing exists so that they can stay out of trouble. It's not just, oh, follow the laws and you're safe. You can follow the laws all you fucking want. If you piss off the wrong person, you can get thrown in this thing and your whole life can be turned upside down. They can take years and years of your life and hold you in this for as long as they fucking want to. Anyway, so that was it, y'all. I sent the text. You know, a big fight happened in the household, really, was really what led to the text being sent. I kept getting chastised for not helping certain individuals that I was in school with, family members, not helping them to stay on track and do their schoolwork or whatever was going on. I was getting chastised for that. And it created this situation where I got in this big fight with some of the people in my close circle. And that led to me feeling like they were doing to me what had been happening to me in the Airbnbs. Prior to the fight, I didn't have that feeling. I didn't send them a text. I was in there acting normal. I was sleeping in the room just fine. And then the big fight happened and they started moving weird in the house and stuff. And I thought they started doing what was happening to me in the Airbnbs. The same thing that I had complained about to them for half a year. So I sent a text, an innocent text. I didn't accuse them. I just asked them, hey, y'all wouldn't do this, right? Whatever I sent the stupid ass text, y'all. That was it, y'all. 6 years of targeting. For the first 2 years, I didn't make videos. This is the next thing too now. The gaslighting is just crazy ass gaslighting. For the last 4 years, I've been making videos, y'all. When I found out I was a target in 2022. So 2020, I got targeted. For 2 years, I dealt with targeting. I was teaching as an English teacher here on island and dealing with targeting. For majority of the time that I was here, I was living in my car. I had an apartment for, I want to say, maybe half a year. And the targeting was so bad in the apartment, I didn't even really stay in it. I was living in my vehicle and teaching out of my vehicle. So anyways, I was here for 2 years and I realized that I just couldn't function with what was happening, obviously. And so I tried to relocate off island. 2022, I did not make a video about anybody, y'all. And this was when I was living in the old neighborhood and dealing with targeting and old people from the past, family members getting involved in the targeting and stuff like that. I didn't make a video. For 2 years, I dealt with that. I didn't make a video. Instead, I packed up my stuff. I didn't know it was going to follow me. I didn't know it was a spiteful thing where they sabotage your life and they attach it to you and it's going to follow you where you go. Weird shit, dude. So I packed up my stuff, y'all, and I thought I could just relocate and start over. That's what I thought. I was like, okay, this stupid shit down here on island of being spiteful, whatever. I didn't know it was this thing that targeted and where they could put a target on your back and attach this thing to you and it follows you and it's just satanic, man. So I packed up my stuff and I tried to relocate. I had money saved. I still had my good name, kinda. Maybe not here on island, but in general, it wasn't like the whole world was against me. I had money in my pocket. I had saved up $5,000. I had/have a good resume. I didn't have as many enemies as I do now after what happened when I tried to relocate. The reactions I had, the stupid reactions. And so I packed up and I tried to relocate with my $5,000 and my resume. And I'm like, I could do whatever. I got a brain that works. I know I can figure something out. I'm a smart girl. I can figure something out. I started thinking about ways to make money quick so that I could get on my feet quickly. I started looking into different options and I learned about trucking and how you can make a lot of money, copious amounts of money doing trucking if you do it consistently. And then I started learning about people that were owner-operators. And I started learning about having an LLC and starting your own trucking business. And then I saw this stripper that did it. And several other people that, came from nothing. That they, figured out how the thing worked. And they, started as a trucker, made money, saved up, bought their own truck. Then they bought another. Then they got an LLC. Then they became owner-operators. And then they started making millions. There were multiple people I was following. And I was studying the blueprint of how to do this thing. I was planning to do it. I contacted companies. I looked into companies that would offer free lodging and would teach you the courses and give you the CDL, etc., without you having to pay up front. So some of these companies like Swift or, some other trucking companies, they need drivers so freaking bad that they'll pay for your schooling and they'll provide lodging, etc., and then you pay them back by working for them for like a year or two and them deducting it from your check for like a year or two. You'll make less money and they'll deduct the money that was the money that you didn't have to pay to do the schooling and for the lodging, etc. So I had plans, man. I had already contacted a company. I had looked into different states. I was looking at the West Coast. I was looking at the North Coast. I was looking everywhere. I didn't care. I was about to go as far away as possible with what I was dealing with. I was like, this is craziness. That was my plan. I would have been good right now if this thing hadn't been attached to me. This is why I'm so bitter and angry. And then the gaslight and the gaslight the hell out of me about the thing, Like, I'm so bitter and angry about it. God knows what I could have been doing now if they hadn't attached that thing to me. And to make it like I'm a burden, like I'm doing this. Why did you attach it to me? Why didn't you just let me leave? Because you wanted to see me fail? Is that what it is? You wanted me to stay here and be tortured on island and everybody get to watch like it's fanfare and fun? It irks me so bad. I'm walking around island on days when things are going bad for me. And I'm literally seeing some people, they can't even help themselves. They're looking in their phone, gloating, smiling and staring in their phone. And it's like a crack addict. And I'm just looking at it and it just crawls my blood. When I see it, it irks me so bad. So that's what it is, y'all. I'm the poppy show of the island entertainment. That's what it pretty much is. They attached the thing to me. I couldn't survive out there, obviously. I almost lost my life out there, actually. Several low-level things happened to me out there. I ended up having stupid reactions. I talked about it. If you listen to my story, y'all, you'll hear what happened when I tried to relocate off island in 2022. I ended up back down in Florida because eventually, y'all, I decided on Indiana. I looked into different states that had trucking companies that provided lodging and what I just explained to you all. And I decided on Indiana. I saw they had a low cost of living. They paid relatively well. Groceries weren't too expensive out there. I did all this research, man. And I decided on Indiana, and the thing followed me. And if you listen to my story, you'll hear what happened, y'all. I ended up back in Florida. I took a Greyhound bus, a series of Greyhound buses to Indiana. I stayed in Indiana for a few weeks, about a month. You know, the targeting blew up. And if you listen to my story, you'll hear what happened, y'all. It was crazy. It was like America's Most Wanted. It was this weird, just stuff you don't even see on TV, y'all. You never hear about cars, multiple cars full of people gang stalking one individual. You see things on TV like America's Most Wanted, where you have somebody that committed a crime, not some random individual that pissed the wrong person off. Where you have somebody that committed a crime that's speeding in a car, trying to get away, like on the run, you know, in a car, trying to get away from multiple law enforcement officers. You never see anything about targeting, or if you do, you probably don't really acknowledge it or realize what you're looking at. I think I've probably come across it before in the past and didn't realize what I was looking at. Probably thought the person was schizophrenic or talking crazy shit out the side of their neck. But you never see on TV, like, there's no tangible, to my knowledge, video where you can actually watch somebody in a vehicle being chased by civilians, multiple civilians in different cars, watching this person and stalking them and chasing them. That's what was happening to me in Indiana. So eventually, y'all, I ended up back down in Florida. I had gotten a car in Carvana. That was when my credit was still good, before my credit was screwed. Everything's messed up now, y'all. My credit's terrible. I left with a 700 and change credit score. I left with my good name, at least to the world. It wasn't, you know, here on island things were screwed up, but outside of the island, I still had my good name. I had 5,000 and change in the bank. I still have a good resume, but of course, now that I'm targeted and things are the way that it is, it's almost like you don't have anything, right? I had a good resume, and I had my head on my shoulders, and I had a plan, a set plan. So anyways, y'all, I was able to get a car in Carvana because I had good credit. And I drove down to Florida, and I was in my car dealing with gang stalking, almost lost my life down there too. And then I ended up coming back to the island I tried to relocate off of, and that was when the video started. The videos they gaslight me about, and they pretend like that's why I'm still being targeted, and that's what it's about, when you were doing this to me for 2 years and I tried to relocate. They keep pulling shit out the side of the ass. They're making it about the reaction I had when I was in Florida when I tried to relocate. And I shared the offensive Hebrew Israelite propaganda, but they're using the guys that created the content as gang stalkers on me. They're pretending it's about the fake narrative they created from the text message, but they're sensationalizing people who have scandalous pasts. Like, y'all, there's no reason for what they're doing, other than you just have a problem with me, and you want to see me suffer, and it's fun. It's entertainment for the island, and you have some sort of sadistic kick, some sort of sadistic side to you, and this is fun for you. They even sent that with the technology, y'all. There was a day where they were sending one set of bullshit, and I was getting angry. I was getting so angry, and they sent me a video talking about this is fun. It's like literally sadism, and it's like entertainment. I think they were bored, and this was something fun to do, and they don't want to let me go. Anyway, y'all, so nonetheless, y'all, I'm going off. It's not a tangent, it's relevant, but it's starting to become a tangent. So check out these links, y'all, where you can hear my story and what led to me becoming targeted, and hear the things that preceded the targeting, and know that the false narrative that was created from the targeting is bullshit. Anyway, so then you can scroll through, y'all, and check out the different links. I have different links talking about the technology utilized on targets, and mainly what I'm coming here to show you right now is what I was talking about before I went off on that tangent, is the video from Robert Duncan, who is a DARPA Harvard scientist for the CIA. He works for the CIA and DARPA. And in this video, it's about an hour and change long. He's having a conversation with Oh goodness, the name is evading my mind right now, y'all. I'm tired. I got work in a few. It's Robert Duncan and let me click on the link, y'all. It's Robert Duncan and something Burr. His name is something Burr. Hold on. Len Burr. There we go. Len Burr. Yeah, Len Burr, the target. If you check out that video, y'all, you'll hear Len Burr, who's targeted, discussing what Robert Duncan, the Harvard DARPA scientist, a reputable source, the agenda, the main agenda behind targeting, and discussing how the technology works, some of this technology, this brain-to-computer interface technology, and find out why so many people who haven't committed crimes are being targeted, and for years and years and years at that. It's like spiteful experimentation. Like you pissed off somebody in power, the wrong person, and you were deemed worthy of experimentation. And so they throw you in it and use you as a lab rat, basically, to experiment with this technology that they're planning to use on everyone in the world. Actually, look at what I saw the other day online, y'all. I sent it in the group chat so the people in my close circle could see what's going on. But they don't care. This is weird. This weird thing with them that I didn't expect. And I've gotten enough surprises over the last few years, y'all. Nothing surprises me anymore, really. Hold on, y'all. I'm looking for it. I sent it in one of these groups. Here, you can see two humans successfully sent messages to each other using only their thoughts across 50 miles. This was sent from quantum science. Let me click on the article, y'all, because that's brain-to-computer interface, just so you can understand. This is where we are now. We're in a different time, y'all. And that's what Robert Duncan is talking about in that video that I just showed you with Len Burr. He's talking about the agenda behind the targeting and what they plan to do with the technology, the brain-to-computer interface, oneness, one mind, that they're planning to do with the technology. So they're planning to hook everyone up to a brain-to-computer interface, and everyone's brains are going to be connected. He said you're going to have a loss of democracy. You're going to have You're going to have a loss of free thought, a loss of eventually freedom of speech, free will, etc. Because they can control your mind with the technology. That's the scary thing. They can put thoughts in your head. They can control you like a remote control if they want to. But it's going to become an authoritarian, dystopian type society. It's as clear as day that that's what's going to happen. And he was even talking about the implications. He's by the way, he's pro-transhumanism. So he's for the technology. He was actually getting excited as he was talking about it. The only thing that he thinks is wrong or morally corrupt is using the technology on people that haven't agreed or consented, which is what's happening to target. So the illegal experimentation. And so in that video, he was talking about the fact that he felt like that was wrong. Utilizing the technology. It's akin to rape. That's like raping somebody. Putting this stuff in their body and they didn't consent to it. So that's what he was talking about. And he was talking about the fact that, you know, different militaries across the world are going to be utilizing the technology and they're going to see who has the best hive mind. They're calling it a hive mind because everyone's mind is going to be connected and there's going to be like this oneness. It's so creepy. Yo. This is Revelations. I'm telling you. If you read the Bible, this is Revelations in real life that's happening here now, y'all. I didn't know I was going to be at the centerpiece of it all. This is crazy. Me? Why me? Anyway, so let me read you the thing, y'all. Telepathy just went from sci-fi to Wi-Fi. In a historic first, two volunteers using non-invasive brain-computer interfaces played 20 questions without speaking or typing a single word. They simply thought the answers to each other across 50 miles. We're officially entering the era of the hive mind. When I saw this shit, y'all, I was like, oh my God, this is what Robert Duncan was talking about in his video. The video I posted about 3 years ago. This is where we're at with it, y'all. So it's not just targets. Targets are, yeah, it's spitefully being done to us in a spiteful, malicious way because we pissed off somebody in power. But this is experimentation with a purpose, y'all. They're planning to use this on all them mofos that's targeting you. They're planning to use it on all of them. What are the most exciting possibilities for this tech and what are the biggest risks? Disclaimer, this content is for informational and educational purposes only. The biggest risk is dystopia, y'all. That's the biggest risk, dystopia. An authoritarian, totalitarian society where nobody has rights. That's the biggest risk, dystopia. It's so weird because just a couple years ago, I was reading the story Harrison Bergeron with my students, which is a common, appropriate, age-appropriate fictional work that shows a dystopian society. And I had no clue that I was in one myself, the beginning of one myself. Like, I had no clue what, I was targeted then too, but it wasn't what it is now, and I wasn't Microchip back then. I didn't even understand that I was going to be experiencing what I would be experiencing a couple short years later. Anyways, y'all, so this is real. That's what's going on. It's not just targets. This is a whole United Nation UN type thing. Every nation across the world has targets, and every nation across the world is utilizing this technology. And the plan is to use it on everyone and create a hive mind. Anyway, so when I sent this in the group chat, I was expecting some sort of reaction from them because they're so different from the people I grew up with. Like, they talked about revelations and this type of stuff. I never thought they would be down with this type of stuff. I sent it, I'm expecting to get some sort of reaction, some sort of human reaction. The response I got was gaslighting and like you didn't care about what I just sent you. I'm like, what? Am I dreaming? Am I in some sort of like coma-like state? Because this couldn't be the same people I grew up with. Anyway, y'all. So that's the intent behind it, just so you can understand. So please check out the interview I was just showing you with Robert Duncan and Len Burr, where Robert Duncan goes into detail about transhumanism and the hive mind, New World Order. This is what he mentioned. The New World Order, NWO, agenda. Straight out the horse's mouth. Anyways, y'all, so that's what you're dealing with when you're targeted. Experimentation. And it's programming too. Hold on a second, y'all. Hold on a second. Why am I getting confused? It's 11:02 and I have work soon, y'all. Anyway, I want to get back to the main point of this video, though, y'all. I went off on a major tangent, and this is relevant. It certainly is relevant, but I went off on a tangent. So that's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with microchipping. You're dealing with brain-to-computer interface. And transhumanism. You're basically a cyborg. When they put the technology in your body, you're similar to a transgender. Similar to how a male who takes hormones, female hormones, and possibly undergoes a sex change, how they become transgender because they're a mix of human and female. Male and female. It's the same thing with this transhumanism agenda. That's why it's called transhuman, because you're a mix of human and robotics now. You're like a cyborg. They put these little nanobots inside of you, and they also microchip you, and they utilize the brain-to-computer interface so they can hear your thoughts in real time. They can see through your eyes. They can push thoughts into your head. It happens all the time, y'all. All kinds of weird stuff. They can do all kinds of stuff if they want to. I have videos talking about this, y'all. That's another thing I want y'all to check out. Hold on. Actions officer. Hold on. The video just ended abruptly, or that last clip, because I had a family member ask me to pass them something. So the video is going to continue on after the next clip. In the next clip, you're going to hear me expounding on some of the things that I talk about in the continuing clip. So the last clip where you saw me end, where I was looking for links that I was trying to show you that I put in the description box and comment section, that is going to continue on after the next clip. So the next clip, I'm just going to be adding in or expounding on some of the things that I talk about in the continuing clip. So the continuation of the last clip, the continuing clip, I'm going to be in the next clip expounding on some of the things that I talk about in the continuing clip. So I just wanted to put this piece here for clarity, y'all, because I realized I just did the video where I was expounding on what's going to be talked about in the continuing clip. And I didn't do a video like this explaining why the last clip ended abruptly and why the next clip is something completely different. It's not completely different, but why it's not a direct continuation of the last clip. All right, y'all, just made this for clarity. Y'all, in the next clip where I'm talking about the guy that I was daydreaming about, that basically they played against me on the pool game. This was years ago when they revealed to me that they were reading my thoughts. That's what you're going to hear me talking about in the next clip. Just talking about that moment when I realized that they were utilizing the brain to computer interface technology on me. And so I go into detail about the guy that I was daydreaming about and how they played me with an avatar, played against me on the pool game I was playing with an avatar that had his name. And he has like this unique name. Anyway, so that's who you're going to hear me going into details about in the next clip briefly. Just, it's not about him. He's irrelevant in the grand scheme of things, but it's just, again, about the brain to computer interface technology and refutation of the false narrative, because they were in my brain for a number of months, I think a year and change, y'all, reading my thoughts, and I didn't know they were in there. So they know full well I have not done any or committed any crime. That's the main point and takeaway from the next clip, y'all. Because I start going into details about how I knew the guy, and you have to understand it's a small island, and they've painted some false narratives about me and tried to paint me in this negative light. They keep trying to villainize me and make me seem like some sort of monster. And so that's why I felt the need to go into details about why I was daydreaming about him, because he is associated with a boyfriend of mine from the past, a boyfriend that I was with in high school, y'all, when I was 14 and 15. And I think 16, I was like, we were friends, but 14 and 15 was when this relationship took place. I'm 34, y'all. And when I was talking or messaging, playing pool with this guy that I was daydreaming about, that was in 2022. So you have to understand this was years later, but I still felt the need to go into details because they like to do this weird thing where they warp the narrative and paint me in this negative light. But anyway, the reason I'm making this clip is to clarify something I said in the next clip, where I said I had a conversation with a guy a few years ago. When I say a few years ago, I mean, time is flying, y'all. So what feels like a few years ago was probably almost a decade ago. This was in my 20s, shortly after the thing with the cyber-stalking, cyberbullying guy. If you listen to my full story, you'll know who that is when I reference that guy, the cyberbullying, cyber-stalking guy, y'all. Anyway, shortly after the thing with him happened was when I had this conversation with this ex of mine from high school. And I realized he was privy to the situation and the way he was talking to me and stuff, and some of the things he was saying. I just know his energy. I knew him for a number of years. I could tell he didn't care for me. And I could tell he knew about the situation. So anyway, that's who I was talking about, though, because I didn't say that clearly in the next clip. I said I had a conversation with him a few years ago, and I could tell he didn't care for me. I'm not talking about the guy that I was daydreaming about that's associated with him. I'm talking about the ex from high school. Anyway, y'all, so just why I'm making this clip. And this is not about him, and it's not even about that guy either. Again, this is just talking about when I realized that they were reading my thoughts. But just for refutation and defending of my character, and to defend my character, I started going into the backdrop story of how I knew the guy and what led to me, daydreaming about him. And because it looks bad, but, they like to paint me in this negative light. They just have a problem with me, like I said. Okay, y'all. So, I found the videos I was talking about. So there's a link here, right, where Dr. Phil V discusses the AI used on targets and how they can manipulate your thoughts, right? So he said, if you're hearing thoughts that don't feel like your own, know that those are not your thoughts, right? You need to check the clip out. I don't want to play the video right now, and I want to play the clip a little bit for you guys, but I don't want to waste too much time. I'm trying to quickly make this video, right? Because I have to get up and get ready for work. But if you check that video, it's a short clip. Dr. Phil V is talking about the technology and how if you're having thoughts, this is a horrible example that he gave, but he's just trying to say like crazy thoughts that you have never had before. Know that these are not your thoughts. He said thoughts about eating babies. Know that that's not your thinking. And he said they have a way to project thought processes into your brain. If they have a bad enough problem with you, they could set your ass up if they want to, right? But that's just one example, right? Then Michael Barden, who's also another target that was in the military, a whistleblower, he was talking about the technology too, and how he'll be sitting there randomly and then this thought will pop in his head. This is what I was talking about with this person for my job. It was just like the way it was popping in my head. I've never dealt with anything like that in my life. Not only that, it's the timing too. Why 4 years later? Remember, y'all, they microchipped me. If you listen to the videos, they microchipped me when I got back on island from trying to relocate. So that was towards the end of 2022. I actually remember the night it happened. I had played Erykah Badu's song Four Leaf Clover, right? And I was acting cocky in the mirror and stuff because I just couldn't believe they did what they did to me. And when I came home, they were still doing stuff. I was like, what the heck? I thought it was going to be over once I came back home. They were still doing stuff. So I remember that. I remember it clearly, y'all. I was in the mirror playing Erykah Badu's song, Catch a Four-Leaf Clover. However the song goes, y'all. And I was in the mirror just getting myself together in the mirror and acting cocky and stupid. And I remember I went in my bed to lay down and sleep. And I woke up from sleeping and I felt this thing sting my finger. It was like this painful sting on my pinky finger. And the mark from the sting was there for months, y'all. I didn't even really try to dig it out until months later, when I actually learned about the insect drones and how they microchip you via the insect drones. At that point, the microchip was already well embedded wherever it's at now, right? That creates the brain to computer interface. And still at that point, I didn't know that they were reading my thoughts. I hadn't learned everything yet. They didn't reveal to me that they were reading my thoughts until they sat in there for a good little minute. And they know full well what they saw in there, and they know full well that I'm innocent. So anyways, y'all, nonetheless, though, I remember the night when it happened. I was, like I said, acting cocky in this kind of way that I act when they're doing stuff to me, abusive tactics. And then I went in my bed to sleep and I woke up and this thing bit my finger and the mosquito looked weird too. Again, this was around the time I was just learning about this stuff. I didn't know what I know now, right? I was just, like you could say, awakening or taking the red pill, if you will, in the Matrix. And I see the fly flying away and the thing looked weird and strange. I was like, what the hell was that? And my finger was burning. And I remember going and waking up the older person in my close circle that was sleeping on the couch, and she said, it's just a regular bed, I'm sure you're fine. You know, she said in this kind of way, and I didn't really put it together until after the fact that, there was like this weird mark on my finger that burned, and it stayed there for months on end, y'all. And I know that was when they microchipped me. And so they were in my brain for months, y'all, and I overthink everything. So I know they saw me overthinking the text message and overthinking everything. I know they know I didn't do anything. And then not only that, when I eventually did stop thinking about the situation and I just started living life as it was, dealing with myself as a target, and I did not know that they were monitoring my thoughts, I was daydreaming about men. I like to daydream, and I'm targeted. I'm not dating. I'm human. So I used to have daydreams. I was having daydreams. Everyone daydreams from time to time. But when you're targeted, it's worse. You're isolated for years on end. They block up everything purposefully and they gaslight you about it. So I was daydreaming about men and they were reading my thoughts. I had no clue. So finally, when they realized they weren't finding what they were looking for, to humiliate me, they played me on the pool game with the name of the Spanish guy I was daydreaming about. And even now, they still try to utilize Spanish men on me like I have something for... it wasn't specific to him being Spanish. It was just him in general. I just was attracted to him in general. And what was going on with him specifically was... right before I tried to relocate off island, I used to play against him he used to play against me. He kept challenging me on the pool game. And back in the day, I don't want to talk about this person again, y'all, because they hired him on and was using him as a gang stalker too. Just all kinds of bullshit these people have done, right? But years ago, it's a scandalous story too, because he was the older brother of my first boyfriend's best friend. But I knew him before I knew that first boyfriend. It's a long, sordid story, y'all. It's complicated. It's not like I got with my boyfriend. And this was a boyfriend from high school, y'all. Okay? Over a decade ago. It's not like I was with my boyfriend and then I saw this guy and I was like, oh, I like him. No, I knew about him before I ever got with this guy. What happened was my older cousin, and I've talked about this cousin in prior videos. She was like a sister to us. She was like a sister to me and my older sister once upon a time. Things happened that made, you know how life is, y'all. Things happened that made the relationship grow apart, right? So it's not the same like what it used to be. But we used to be like literally like sisters, the three of us. And so we used to go out in high school all the time. And we used to hang out with her friends, and her friends used to hang out. We used to hang out with our friends, with her friends, etc., etc. Yeah, I used to have a lot of friends. Like the people that truly know me knows that I have friends and stuff. It's not like the people that are just seeing me in the targeting and what's going on, and I'm like a hermit and isolated and I don't really stay to myself. Back in the day, I had a lot of friends and we were on to go out seeing, my sister and I and my cousin. So anyway, the older cousin, she, one of her friends that I didn't know that well, I didn't know the girl that well, one of her friends was with this guy. And so that was how my older sister and I kind of got to know who he was. We saw him on the scene when he was dating her briefly. And then he had a younger brother, right? We didn't really see the younger brother like that. I don't know if he was going out and hanging in a different circle, if they're not close like that. We didn't really used to see the younger brother like that. I didn't really start seeing the younger brother until I started going to public school in high school. But that guy, we used to see him all the time. He was going out every freaking weekend just like we were. We were like on the go out scene, and so was he. And so that was where I like thought he was attractive. It wasn't like a crush per se. I didn't even know him like that. And he was older than me, significantly older. But you know, you see somebody, you think they're cute. Like my sister and I, we thought he was cute. We always thought, oh, he looks so good, that type of thing. But it wasn't like we're hitting on him. We're not those type of females. We were getting hit on back then, like crazy. Anyway, so nonetheless, I just thought he was attractive. That's all it was. It wasn't anything like a shot or like with their craziness, what they try to do, right? Create stuff. I just thought he was attractive. I didn't know him like that. It was just somebody you see and you're like, oh, that person looks good. Fast forward maybe a year later, that was when I met my first boyfriend, because of course he was hanging in those same circles. That was his best friend's older brother, and hanging in those same circles as us. And so I remember we were at the club, and I was way too young to be in the club at that time, but I was hanging out with my older sister and my older cousin, who was like our sister. And they were in the club, and so I was with them. I was like 15, 16 back then, and going into the club with them, and they were older, you know, like 3 years older than me, like 19, 18, those type of ages. And so we were in the club together, and I had gotten in, and I wasn't really supposed to be in there. It was a club that they don't have on Island anymore, but I used to get in. You know, we used to dress nice, and I used to get into places. And so I remember I was dancing on the floor with my cousin, and that was how I met. Let me not go into the details about this guy, y'all, because he has a problem with me now too. It's just a long story. I have a lot of enemies now, people that from the past that holding grudges on me and stuff. I'm not even trying to talk about him. It's not about him. I'm just trying to talk about where I knew this guy from and why it might seem scandalous. The fact that, you know, it would seem like I thought he was attractive, but I just want you to understand I knew who he was way before I ever dated that guy. You know, so if he has a problem with it, I don't think he would. It was years ago. We were children. But nonetheless, I just think there's a lot of guys from the past that I realize have a problem with me that I dealt with from the past. I think he's one of them. Anyway, so, and I'm not just assuming things, y'all. I had a conversation with this guy a few years ago. It was a while ago, but still, like, I realized, you know, he knew about the thing with the cyberstalking, cyberbullying guy, and I could tell he didn't care for me. Like, it's the thing island-wide, y'all. It's been layers of stuff that led to where I'm at now. I'm telling you. It's been layers of stuff. Anyways, you don't want to piss off the wrong person. You can get targeted, especially if you live in a small community. And you don't realize until you realize. Like, I'm telling you, all kinds of crazy, I mean, real criminal stuff has happened here on Island before, y'all. And nobody was targeted, and they're targeting me. If you hear the minute reason, like, y'all, it's just that I pissed off the wrong person, and I'm not the social butterfly that I used to be. I was never, like, this big social butterfly. I just had my older sister and my cousin and my own few friends, and then they had a lot of friends. And so I always had friends, but I've always been introverted. So I'm not that social butterfly type person that could say, like, I have a connection to call and look out for me. I'm more introverted. I always have been. And so that's why it was easy for this to happen to me. But that's the crime that I committed, was being socially inept or not being a social butterfly. That was the crime I committed. So anyways, y'all, and then pissing off the wrong person. One too many people, I guess you could say. It was literally just like two people, y'all, like the people in my close circle. And they got up with the stalking cyberbullying guy. Y'all, it's going to sound like crazy mumbo jumbo if you haven't listened to my story and you haven't been keeping up with my videos. So let me not start going off on tangents, right? Back to what I was saying about this guy, though, and how I learned that they were in my brain. That's what's important, is talking about how I learned that they were monitoring my thoughts, y'all. So, this guy from high school, that he was like my first boyfriend. I met him in the club around the time when I had, you know, started seeing that guy. But I had been seeing that guy way before I got with the guy that was my first boyfriend. And so we already thought he was kind of cute, but it wasn't like I was like, hey, can you hook me up with him or anything? No, it wasn't anything like that. So anyway, I was dancing on the dance floor with my sister and my cousin, and this guy came up behind me and started dancing with me, and he kept coming back to dance with me. And when I left, my cousin started telling me, hey, yo, that's so-and-so, and he has a crush on you, or whatever she was telling me. He likes you, he wants your number. And so that was how I got with my first boyfriend. We started talking, got together, blah, 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 right? We were together for a couple years. That was years ago. I was in high school. I was a child, so if anybody's holding a grudge against me for anything that happened back then, that's crazy. I was extremely young back then. Anyway, nonetheless, whatever. So years later now, y'all, like around the time when the targeting was happening, but it hadn't gone viral yet, I was befriended by this guy on Facebook, right? And so sometimes he would like my pictures. You have a lot of guys that were liking my stuff back then. I mean, it's been happening for years, even before the targeting, before the thing with the cyberstalking, cyberbullying guy. That was how I met the cyberstalking, cyberbullying guy. It was via my Instagram in my early 20s. And I had these pictures up, whatever I was putting up. I was trying to put up thirst trap pictures to entice my ex. Not the one I was just talking about. The one that I talked about in prior videos, y'all. That, in my 20s took, my V card and led me on. And I think that was a revenge thing with him too. I don't want to go into the details about that, y'all. But that's why I was putting up thirst trap pics on Instagram in my early 20s. I was trying to entice that ex, and I was getting a lot of comments and DMs and messages and stuff. Like most females in this day and age, it's not hard to do if you put up the right type of pictures. So anyway, that was how I met the cyber stalking, cyberbullying guy, was via the DMs. He wrote me twice, actually, and the second time was when I responded, stupid me. I regret that so bad. But anyways, so that's something that's been happening for years. DMs and messages, and just like any other female. So this is what he was doing before I tried to relocate off island. The guy from years ago, that was the older brother of my first boyfriend's best friend. He added me on Facebook, and he was just like, I noticed he came onto the pool game. Like, I was on the pool game playing pool, and then I noticed he came on, and he challenged me a few times and played against me. He didn't ask me for my number. It's not like he hit on me. He really just said, hey, cutie, sometimes, or what's up? This stupid generic messages, and he would play against me, and he was pretty good. He was decent, right? So he played pretty good. Sometimes he would beat me. Sometimes I would beat him. And I'm a decent player on pool, too. So I remember when I got back on island, the reason I'm going into these details, y'all, is... All right, y'all, continuing on where I left off. Sorry, I had to pass something to someone, and this is what led to the pause and the cutoff with the last clip. But back to what I was saying, y'all. So, again, this was in 2021 when this was happening. Like, towards the end of 2021, throughout 2021, off and on, and maybe the beginning of 2022, before I tried to relocate off island. So, this was while I was a target, but this was before the targeting had gone viral. This was when I was a teacher, and, it wasn't island-wide. Not everybody knew about the targeting. I hadn't shared offensive stuff. I didn't have as many enemies. I hadn't tried to relocate yet. This was when that was happening. I was still able to date people. It wasn't what it is now where I can't even date anyone. Back then, I was able to I had 2 boyfriends during the targeting. Y'all, a lot happened back then. But anyway, so it wasn't what it is now, right? So anyway, just off and on, the guy used to play me and have like these generic conversations with me. It wasn't major. But, even to another point, y'all, I was just thinking about this while the cameras were off. This whole false narrative about me being thirsty because what happened with the personal trainer from the old gym, y'all. This guy was somebody I authentically thought was attractive from back in the day, y'all. When I was a little girl and he was older than me. Not significantly older, but older. Like I said, he was around my cousin's age, and I think even older than her. I think he actually... Now that I think about it, I think he was probably closer to the age of that first boyfriend that I was talking about in the last clip. I think he's, like 6 years older than me, something like that. Not significantly older, but like back then, that's an older guy to me. I thought he was attractive from those years. And so now as a grown woman to have this person reaching out and writing me and trying to play me on the pool game, if I were the thirsty shoot your shot female that they keep trying to perpetuate me as, don't you think I would have used that as an opportunity to shoot my shot at that guy when he actually reached out first? And I authentically thought this guy was attractive. Since back in the day, there was no ulterior motive. Don't you think if I were the thirsty, vapid female that shoots her shot, don't you think I would have done that then when I had the opportunity and the guy was reaching out? This is irrelevant, but not at the same time, y'all, what I'm dealing with. And this guy was like a real pretty boy, like Hispanic. This is why they keep trying to sensationalize me to Spanish guys now, because of this guy. Anyways, y'all. So no, I'm not thirsty, and I'm not the type that shoots her shot. Anyway, back to the point though, y'all. So he was playing me off and on the pool game, and he would write me like personal messages on the pool game, not in my inbox. And he would like my photos on Facebook, that type of thing. Minor stuff. He wasn't one of the dudes that was in my DMs. He didn't ask me for my number. I didn't ask him for his. So it was just like these off and on interactions, right? Minute stuff, man. Light work. Nothing major. So now I tried to relocate off island. The thing blows up. All this crazy, these crazy things happen. I come back on island at the end of 2022. I do the research that I did. And I learned that I was targeted. And, get microchipped, etc. I didn't know that I was microchipped at the time, y'all, when I was daydreaming about this guy. But everything was messed up at this point. When I got back on island, I was way more locked in. Way more people were privy to the targeting. I felt trapped up. I felt, I hadn't made videos to tell my story yet. So I didn't feel vindicated or like I had been heard or like people knew what my story was. So this false narrative was floating around. And I felt absolutely petrified. And so, I was just on my bed depressed, being stared at on camera. I hadn't really figured things out yet. And I used to daydream. I would be just laying there in bed just daydreaming. I have ADD too, y'all. I have what's called a left brain. I'm left brain minded. And I also have a neurodivergent brain. So people that have autism and ADHD, ADD, etc., they're considered, or they're called neurodivergent. So that means your brain is wired differently from the normal brain. It's a divergence from the norm. That doesn't mean you're some weird, strange thing. There are so many people that have wirings of the brain that are like this. It's not a big deal. But typically people like that are artistic, creative, etc. It runs in my family. Like all of us are neurodivergent. It's not a big deal. But also you like to daydream a lot. So you have like an active imagination. You typically like to read books. Like I read romance novels. I like daydreaming. That's just my nature. I've always been that way. Oh my God, they're utilizing it in the targeting. They're taking it to the next level with the daydreams. I feel like I can't even daydream anymore. I can't read my books anymore. I know I don't want to go off on a tangent. So this is what was happening. I was depressed and laying in my bed and I was daydreaming, like as an escape from what was happening. And so I randomly started daydreaming about him. I was playing on the pool game. At this time, they kept playing against me with these different fake avatars with the technology, the shadow networking AI software. And I felt like the avatars that were playing against me would suck. Like they couldn't play pool good. It sucked. And so he ran into my brain. Like I thought about before I left island how, some of the people I used to play against, and he was one of the people I used to play against that could play kind of good. And so I thought about that and I just started thinking about him and I started having a daydream. I mean, it is what it is. It's out there. It's embarrassing. Oh, well. I don't have a shame box anymore, y'all. I've been through so much embarrassing shit. Like that's nothing compared to some of the stuff I've been through. So no, I was daydreaming about him. It is what it is. I was depressed. I was laying in my bed. He ran across my brain because I was playing pool and I started daydreaming about him. I did not know these people were reading my thoughts, right? So I go on the pool game to play pool and I see them playing against me with an avatar that has the dude's name. And he has a unique name too, y'all. So I was just like, what the heck? This is why I started realizing, wait a minute. I started, it was almost like I went into instant denial. I was like, no way. I was like, that has to be a coincidence. How the heck? I was just thinking about this guy. And now I hop on the pool game and they're playing against me with his name. And so I started to freak out. It was like a moment of denial. And then it was like an epiphany, aha moment. Like I had an epiphany where I was like, oh shit. So they're reading my thoughts. That's why this is happening. That's happening. Like they know where I'm about to go and this and that and the third. I start putting it together. And then I did more research. I had already been doing research and learning stuff, y'all. And then that was when I learned about the brain to computer interface technology and microchipping and projection of thoughts and reading your thoughts and this creepy, scary sci-fi shit that apparently has been around for years and years and years. And like I said in the prior clips, there's a big agenda behind it. It's been years in the making, decades in the making. If you look at the movie Stepford Wives from the 60s, y'all, that movie is about microchipping and nanobots. There are so many movies that they've played in the past that talks about this technology, and it's something they've been working on for decades with the New World Order agenda, y'all. Check out that video from Robert Duncan. Anyway, we're getting closer to the time where they're going to actually now enact what they've been working on and use it on everyone. Anyway, I don't want to go into those type of talks, y'all, because this is the type of stuff that gets me into problems. It's not a conspiracy theory, and it's not some sort of convoluted theory that I'm throwing out there, y'all. This is facts. This is not fictional. This is fact. Robert Duncan, a reputable source, a Harvard DARPA scientist, said out of his mouth what they're planning to do. He confirmed it. There are videos out there that talks about, they're actually being very open about what they're planning to do now. It's not like some secret thing. So this is not some sort of convoluted conspiracy theory. This is facts. I don't even have to say allegedly. This is facts. There are reputable sources, cited sources that I can use, like Robert Duncan, etc. Do your research. All you have to do is look up the patent that Obama signed when he was in office, the brain initiative that Obama signed when he was in office. That's what it was about, this technology, and them utilizing the technology and propelling experimentation so that they can use it on us in the future. Then also there's, there are patents for the technology. You can look up the patents. All of this is in the description box and comment section. I have videos with links to all of these different sources. I cite my work, y'all. Okay, I practice what I preach. I taught my students to cite their work when they write papers. And I do the same thing. I cite my work. I don't just say stuff that I can't back up. Because they like to play like you're crazy when you're targeted. So you have to back up everything you say. Anyways, y'all, sorry, I'm sitting up. Anyways, y'all, so back to the main point. So I started going off on a tangent talking about this guy, and it's irrelevant. The whole backdrop story with him is so irrelevant to everything. It's just, that was more so me defending myself, because they like to paint it like I'm this villainous, like horrible person. Everything bad that you can think of is what they try to perpetuate me as. And that's what they do to targets. They try to paint you in this horrible light. They villainize you, vilify you, etc. Anyway, so that was when I realized that they were in my brain. So what they saw in my brain prior to me knowing that they were in there were daydreams, about men. Not one daydream about a female. Not one. So why now 4 years later, a whole 4 years later, now I know you're actually in my brain, would I randomly start having lesbian thoughts? Doesn't that sound weird to you? It doesn't make sense. If I were truly the closeted lesbian they're trying to paint it as, when you were sitting there in my brain and you didn't know that I didn't know that you were in there, what you would have been seeing in my brain were thoughts about females, correct? What you saw were thoughts about men, and you tried to humiliate me and play me on the pool game with one of the guys I was daydreaming about. Now 4 years later, all of a sudden a lesbian, like, does it make sense to you? All of a sudden I'm having these lesbian thoughts. It's just weird. It's strange to me. It doesn't make sense to me. Even to me, I find it weird. I've been saying that. And for years, they have been pushing into my brain with the technology, this lesbian agenda. They've been pushing certain stuff all day long. What do you think that's doing to the brain? It's called MK Ultra programming. If all day long you're pushing this in my brain all day long, this stimuli, you don't think that's programming, and then now all of a sudden I'm having lesbian thoughts 4 years later and I wasn't before? You programmed my brain. That's what you did. I'm not a lesbian. I don't have a problem with anybody that, is a lesbian. Who cares? Who cares? Do what you want to do. Be happy, be free. Do what you want. I don't care. I'm not judging anybody. But if I wanted to, I could have done that. You can ask my sister, my younger sister, and she and I aren't even close anymore. They've been doing all kinds of gang stalk and stuff with her too. I've had girls hit on me in the past. She and I were I was working at a resort down here. There are two I worked at in the past, actually. But one where I was on the beach and I was working in like this shack. And when my sister came back on island, I remember she came to the shack to hang out with me one day. She came to work with me. And these lesbians, it was like a group of lesbians, females. They were older. And they had two guys, like, I guess it was their not grandsons, their godsons. They weren't that old, but their godsons. They were older than us, though, significantly older. Like in their 40s. And we were in our 20s back then. Anyway, they had like two godsons that came on the trip with them. And that's who eventually my younger sister and I ended up talking to until they left island. But before that, the lesbians had came over to the shack and they were hitting on us. One was aggressively hitting on me because I'm like muscular and I'm like a tomboy. So I think like there's a misconception there sometimes. But I've never swung that way. I've never even kissed a female before. I could have. I never did. Even when I worked at Walmart, when I was in Tallahassee in my early 20s, there was another one that was working in there with me. She was feminine. She wasn't actually masculine. She was feminine. And she liked me, and I told my sister about it. This happened multiple times in the past. And it's like I wasn't even thinking about that. Like, I like men. So this was the first time where I actually felt like I was actually attracted to the person, a female. And I'm like, actually having thoughts. I'm like, huh? And then it was the way the thoughts were popping in my head too. That's never happened before. They've been monitoring my thoughts. Like, this is why they honed in on the situation so much. I was like, what? Why is it popping in my head like this? Like, this is weird. I thought it was really odd. I've been saying it. Anyway, nonetheless, y'all, what they know, because they have the history of my thoughts. They have the track. They have the timeline. They've been in my brain for the last 4 years since I got back on island. I've been microchipped. And you were not seeing lesbian thoughts. In fact, when I didn't know you were in there, you saw men. And you tried to embarrass me about it too. And play me on the pool game with the dude's name. So why now 4 years later, all of a sudden, this lesbian interaction and this one female pop in my head is just weird. Anyway, y'all, whatever. It is what it is. But I've already talked about very clearly how I felt about the situation, what was going on. I've been very honest. I haven't tried to hide anything. I've been very real about my thoughts and what took place. I was real about the interaction that led to me even starting to think about her in that way in the first place. It was a misunderstanding that happened. I don't know if they sent her out there. I don't know if she did it intentionally or if it was a misunderstanding and I think maybe she was sizing me up. I keep saying this, right? I don't want to tell the story again. I talked about it in one of the prior videos, but I was out there. This was one of the, as a cadet, right? This is now going into talking about this coworker that I had the thoughts about, y'all, that they tried to run with. They tried to run with these thoughts that I had about this one coworker, right? And I was very candid about the situation and what led to the thoughts starting in the first place. This is why I try not to think. So I'm trying not to think, like, be accusatory, because this is what they're claiming why to put me in the thing, right? But I'm just like, it's the fact that you went out there and that thing happened and then I started thinking about her, like the way that I started thinking about her, I don't want to say it felt like a setup. I'm trying not to be like that. I'm trying not to be accusatory. That's the last thing I want to do, is be accusatory. I've been very careful about not doing that. But I myself find the situation odd. I'm just being honest. I've never been through anything like this before. So anyways, it's just such a weird situation, y'all, I'm telling you. So as a cadet, because y'all know I was a cadet at the facility, I never made it to become a corrections. I never got to that level of being a correctional officer because of the things that took place that I talked about in prior videos. I was a cadet in training to become a corrections officer. And so for the cadets, we get holidays. The correctional officers are considered essential workers. So they're peace officers. They go to police academy. So similar to a police officer, a firefighter, etc., they're essential workers. So it's not like a teacher where you get the holidays off, like you get Easter break, summer break, etc. That's not how that works. They're essential workers. So they have to work through the holidays, etc. But when you're a cadet, a corrections officer in training, you do get the holidays. And so I believe this was one of those holidays. I got the day off. I went to the gym. Y'all know this is mainly what I do during the daytime. It's my favorite pastime. And this is how I keep up with myself and my mental health and my physical health, etc. I was in the gym. So I went and I worked out. And then I went to to the shopping center. And I don't remember why I was there. I don't know if it was like to get a registration for the car. I don't know why I was there. I don't remember why I went there. There's always some reason why I'm making stops all over the island. Just doing different running errands. I always have stuff to do. So I went to Sunny House to do something. I can't remember what it was. I believe it might have been insurance, registering the car I was driving. And as I'm walking back to the parking lot, I noticed I saw the company vehicle, the facility vehicle, like circling around the parking lot slowly. So I remember looking like, is that the company vehicle? I remember thinking, isn't that the vehicle for the facility? And then as I reached to the end of the sidewalk, right as I'm about to enter into the parking lot, I have to cross the road. The vehicle pulled up right as I was about to step into the parking lot. And so she was in there. And so she stopped to give me a break to cross the road and get into the parking lot. So I remember looking in the car and noticing that it's this person from the facility. And to me, it looked like she was checking me out. I've been very clear about the fact that it was a misunderstanding. It's not like I'm saying she was checking me out. People have warped perceptions of things. That can happen all the time. I'm not some sort of convoluted, delusional, pompous, conceited person. anything could have happened, really. It could have just been a misconception. It could have been her sizing me up, because that happens all the time too, by the way, y'all. I have females that have checked me out before, and then I've had females that have sized me up before. I'm the new kid on the block inside of the facility, and there's this like reputation that I have of being this bad person, or whatever it is, whatever warped perception that they have of me, misconception. It could have been that she was just sizing me up. I just came out of the gym too. I probably look like this big tough female, so she probably sizing me up. God only knows. Maybe I took it the wrong way. That's why I keep saying it's a misunderstanding, and I'm giving the situation grace. I'm like, it could have been a misunderstanding on my part. But anyway, I'm crossing the street, and I saw her like looking me up and down, similar to like when someone's checking you out or sizing you up. And so I thought she was checking me out. That's the perception I had at the moment. I'm just being honest with y'all. Like, this is what my perception of the moment was. I can only be honest. I'm sorry if it was a misunderstanding. So as I'm crossing over, I just happened to look in the car, and I saw her doing like this look up and down. And so this is where in my head, I was just like, I did a double take, because I didn't really, I wasn't sure if I was reading the look correctly. And then I walked across the street, and I walked to my vehicle, and then she ended up driving around, and she ended up behind me. And so she like moved back so that I could reverse out of my parking space. And so from there, that was pretty much where, I'm just being honest with you, that's where it started. And that's also too what I was talking about in, I can't remember which video I talked about it in, where I talked about the situation. I was talking about these out of character things that have happened with me during the targeting. Y'all, hold on. Let the plane fly by. Let the plane fly by, y'all. Let the plane fly by. Because this ties in with this thirsty thing too, and them playing it like I'm thirsty, where they try to paint it like anybody that gives me attention, I'm going to hop on it and hop into liking that person. And I have to say, there is some validity to the claim. Not completely. Trust me, not completely. I think by now they know that that's not the case. But there is some validity there. When you're going through a stressful situation and you're in a very low state in your life, especially targeting where they isolate you and you're not able to date, and they purposely perpetuate these false narratives and come for your self-esteem and purposely try to make you have this warped sense of self, and they purposely isolate you, they will bully anyone that's interested. If anyone is actually genuinely interested, they'll bully the person. Like, they actually forcefully block you up and make sure that you stay isolated. Nobody is going to date you when you're targeted, even if they are genuinely interested. So anyway, when you're in a state like that, and you're somebody that's used to dating all the time, like I'm the type of female prior to the targeting, I've told you all this, I'm a relationship type of girl. I've been in relationships throughout my whole life, and I'm used to being able to talk to who I want to. So it's like this new reality for me where I can't date and everything's blocked up, and they're purposely doing the things that they're doing to me and then bullying me about it. So when you're in that type of low state like that, and you've been through trauma and PTSD, etc., whatever, you might really, I don't want to say just like anything that likes you. That's not the case. Like I said, they already realized that's not the case. But especially if the person's attractive, you might be open to things that you wouldn't typically be open to. I'm not a lesbian. I've had lesbians hit on me in the past, like actually hit on me, not speculation like, okay, I took the look the wrong way. I have been hit on by lesbians aggressively before in the past, and I wasn't into it. And it's like, no disrespect. It's like, I don't have a problem with you living that lifestyle. We could be friends, but I typically like men. But this is where I was having a moment that I would call out of character for myself, where this person I thought was attractive looked like they were checking me out. And so it became this thing. But I also attributed it to MK Ultra programming, because I never in the past had feelings for a female. I've never thought about a female in that way before. I like men. And the proof is in the pudding. When you were reading my thoughts and I didn't know that you were doing it, you saw me thinking about men. That's what you saw. That's why you played against me with the Spanish guy's name. And when I say Spanish guy, y'all, he's like Dominican, and I believe he's not like any one specific, like he's mixed. I think he's Dominican and Puerto Rican, right? But it's not specifically about Spanish men, because they kept trying to do this thing where they using Spanish men on me. Like, yeah, I like Spanish men. I like any type of man. I don't discriminate. Actually, I've dated almost every race you can think of. That's why I think it's so funny that they think I'm prejudiced. The ex from Colombia, James, he was a Caucasian guy from Colombia. I was with him right before I moved home in 2019. Anyway, nonetheless, y'all, It's not specific to Spanish men. I like black men. I like Spanish men. I don't discriminate. It's not like, well, I just have this thing for Spanish. So then you're trying to throw Spanish men on me. It's so irritating. I don't have a specific thing for Spanish men. I really don't. It's just that guy in particular, I thought he was attractive. He's like a pretty boy, and back in the day, he was like this hot thing back in the day. It wasn't about him being Spanish. But anyway, I'm not trying to go off on a tangent, y'all, about that. It's all vain vanity type stuff anyway. Those things don't really matter to me, especially not these days. But anyway, so back to this girl, though, and what happened with her. It was just a misunderstanding. I keep saying that. And so I think it was a mix of that and me being in a low state where I'm open to just about, it would seem like anything, not. I'm not open to just about anything, but I'm in a low state and my self-esteem has lowered due to the tactics they use on me. Years of bullying, degradation, humiliation, etc. And then it seemed like this attractive person was checking me out. I was just like, oh, okay. It was just that type of moment like that in that moment. And it's reminiscent of what happened before I left Island, before I tried to relocate off Island when I was living in my car. The targeting wasn't even as bad then. It wasn't what it is now when I was doing out of character things. I gave y'all my history of the men that I've actually had intercourse with. Prior to the targeting, I had only had 3 sexual partners. 2 were consensual and 1 was rape. I was very particular about who I gave my body to. Very particular. This is what my sisters used to tease me about. It was the guy that, took my V card in my early 20s and did whatever he did. The guy from my church that had a problem, that had the wandering eye. And then it was the guy that took advantage when I had, in those years when I was an alcoholic. In those 2 to 3 years in my early 20s when I was an alcoholic. And I was here at my cousin's house and I blacked out and I woke up and that guy was doing whatever he was doing. Those were the 3 sexual encounters, intercourse that I had prior to the targeting. That was it. In my early 20s was when I started having sexual intercourse. And in the course of when it started, I would say age 21, when I lost my V card. I could have lost it in high school, y'all. That's to tell you. I held on to it for years. Anyway, from age 21 to age 29 when the targeting started, I had only had 2 consensual partners. And then that 3rd miscellaneous non-consensual interaction. After the targeting, in the span of the first 2 years, this was before the targeting even went viral, I had 4 partners. You don't realize I'm making out of character decisions and doing things that are out of character? And they were men, by the way, not females. Anyway, so I had 4 partners. 2 were relationships and 2 were not. That's completely out of character for me. 2 were not. In fact, the last guy that I had, this isn't TMI, y'all, but my stuff is out there and they started pushing stuff with the technology about sex tapes and this and that and trying to, paint me as this type of female. I had to defend myself, and so I started making videos talking about my history. So all of this stuff is already out there. So it is what it is. It's just the con of being a target. So now I'm telling the true story of what really took place. Anybody that knows me knows I was a good girl. So anyways, the last guy that I had intercourse with, which, by the way, due to the targeting, y'all, I've been celibate for the last 4 years. The last time that I had intercourse, TMI, was 2022. It was with this guy from Florida that I didn't even know that well. We weren't in a relationship and I didn't know him that well. I'm being honest with you. That is so out of character for me. Anybody that knows me knows that's completely out of character for me. So now this female, 4 years later, I thought she was checking me out. I think she's attractive. It was out of character for me, but I think it was just a moment like, this person likes me. Look, I'm at this low state where they've made me into like this byword. They've made me into like this mockery, this thing on Island, what they've done. And they purposely will bully anyone that seems interested too. They purposely do it, but they can't control everything. I noticed with my Facebook, I put up a story that got a lot of views and likes and stuff. Immediately they started doing stuff. I was getting authentic friend requests. I started noticing a bunch of gang stalking friend requests coming in because of what I said about the Facebook. I'm like, what? This wasn't happening before. Why is this happening now all of a sudden? They started putting the dudes on top of me in the gym. Like, aggressively putting the dudes and doing the thirsty thing inside the gym, the new gym. Aggressively when I put that story up. It's like these tactics that they use, and it's to keep you isolated. And also to keep, like, this perception about you. Like, I'm the vapid, thirsty female that no one wants. Like, it's psychological warfare, but then they also perpetuate this false narrative and make it your reality. And I'm in a small community too. Anyway, so whatever, right? That it is what it is. So that's what I'm dealing with. But so you have to understand the low state that I'm in. And then this person that seems attractive, I thought they were checking me out. So it's like, I'm not a lesbian. I've never had an interaction that was sexual with a female before, but I felt open to her checking me out. And I'm not even that type of, like, I don't get down like that. But it was the daydreams for me. Like, that's what made me think neuromonitoring. Because why were they popping in my head the way that it's just the way Michael Barden explained it. It's the way it was popping into my head. I was like, this is weird. I've never been through this before. And they've been monitoring my thoughts for years. It's like they haven't seen that type of activity where it's like, I mean, there were guys I was daydreaming about throughout the course of the last few years. They have seen some activity with men. That's why they try to, send certain stuff. But it's not the way that thing was popping in my head. I keep saying it felt weird. I've never dealt with anything like that before. Why 4 years later? Why wouldn't you have seen that happening when you were in my brain and I didn't know you were in there? Why 4 years later? It's just not making sense. It just doesn't feel right. Something feels weird. Something ain't right. Anyway, whatever. I was trying to be accusatory. But it's something with this technology and the programming and all day long pushing gay in my head all day long. Gay all day long. And let me show you some of the stuff they be sending to me, y'all. So you can understand how programming works. Because it's similar, I've said this already, to an ad. Like when you go to the movie theaters and they flash an ad or a commercial with Coke and popcorn on the screen, and then a few minutes later you're watching the movie and then you realize you want some Coke and popcorn, and you don't realize why you're having that craving. It's because it flashed on the screen a few seconds ago and you didn't even realize that you got programmed in those little 30 seconds. Imagine all day long them pushing subliminal things at you for years on end and perpetuating this false narrative of being gay or homosexual, whatever it is, right? All day long. You don't think that they're programming my brain? It's called MK Ultra programming. Look at what they said. I started taking pictures. I said, this is programming. I started when I realized what was going on. I've been doing it for years, by the way. I started taking pictures and I always make a comment. They're programming me. They're programming me. They're programming me. Look. This was so perverted, y'all, right? If I don't want to put the person's name because I think they were shadow networking. Like, they'll use these random people on my Facebook and make it look like they're posting stuff they're not posting. They do it on Instagram with celebrities too. So I don't want to put the person's name there, right? If you see the video, y'all, I took a screenshot of it, right? It's some sort of workout machine that was moving back and forth and vibrating her private parts super fast. I said, what kind of perverted shit is? I said, they are programming me. Obviously, it was a video, so I couldn't take a recording, but you can see what's going on there, right? That thing was vibrating. That thing between her legs was vibrating. Another thing they sent recently, right, y'all? That I took a picture of, and they do this all day long. Another thing they sent y'all. This clam. Look at how the clam looks. It's squirting out liquid, right? The perversion, I'm telling y'all. And they're sending this type of stuff all day long. I'm seeing this all day long. As long as I'm using the technology. You don't think that's programming the brain and then they have technology in my head too? It's like all day long, this is what they're sending to me. And I have way more too, y'all. I keep taking screenshots. There's got to be another one in here. I don't want to go through my pictures on camera. I don't have anything. I'm targeted, y'all. Everybody sees my stuff all the time. So I don't have anything to hide, but I'm not really trying to go through my pictures. But often I'll take screenshots of what they're sending to me. I know there's more in here. I'm taking screenshots constantly of the stuff they're sending, but then I have to clean out my phone sometimes too because I have so many pictures in here of different things. Constantly they're sending this type of stuff. I know I'm gonna come across some. I might have deleted, because recently I deleted a bunch of pictures, y'all. My storage was running out, and so I might have deleted a bunch of, those type of things. But all the time I'm taking screenshots of what they're sending. I'm sure I'm gonna come across something else. There was a next one that was real perverted. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. I just remembered that next one that they had sent recently. I don't know if I ended up deleting it. I hope not. Here it is. Right? So they were her man, right? I follow these two. They're an African couple, right? And they're funny. But they were her man sees they meet, right? Look at how the thing looks. And the way she was rubbing it, I can't show y'all. It was a video. So similar to the thing that was vibrating. I can only take a screenshot and explain to you what was happening in the video. Look at how the thing is shaped, right? She was rubbing it up and down like it was a private part. And he started to do a face in the background like, ooh. Like, this is the type of... Look. This is the type of stuff they're sending to me all day long, y'all. Another one. This. Look at what they sent. A clam. They keep sending me these clams that are squirting or fingers being stuck inside the clam. I'm sorry for the TMI and the vulgarity, y'all. And the candor. But I'm just trying to show you the programming. Do you see what these people are sending? Look at squirting again. They keep sending this to me. Or references about Superhead. The freaking vixen from back in the day from when I was in high school that wrote the book about all those rappers she was giving head to. Nasty female. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to come for her. I don't want to be judgmental. Because actually when I heard her story, she had some trauma in her past. So I don't want to call her nasty. I'm just trying to explain to you what they're doing. And trying to perpetuate certain false narratives. And also trying to program my brain. But they're sending stuff about, like, that type of stuff all the time. They keep sending her in the newsfeed. I'm like, why are they sending her in the newsfeed? Karen Steffens. I'm like, why are they sending her in the newsfeed? There was this big thing when I was in high school. They were calling her Superhead. Because she was giving all these men, you know what? Like, these are the type of stuff. They're sending it to me all day long. So it's not like you're just perpetuating these false narratives, but you're also programming my brain. You don't think that's programming? It is. It's real. Look it up. MK Ultra programming. It's real. So anyway, that's why I take these pictures and I do what I do, y'all. Anyway, nonetheless, y'all, so all of this is to get to what happened last night. This is all just leading back to what took place last night, y'all. So anyway, just understand that they've been in my brain for years. And there was only one, I guess you could say, lesbian-like encounter, or I wouldn't even call that a lesbian encounter. It's not like she and I had a lesbian encounter, but I would say activity that would be something that they could try to use to validate the false narrative. Everything else doesn't align. It doesn't make sense. It's not matching up. You were in my brain when I didn't know you were in there 4 years ago. All you saw was activity was with men. You know full well I didn't do anything. If you listen to what preceded the text message, you can see it had nothing to do with the false narrative that was created. It's not adding up. It's not making sense. So anyways, y'all, back to what took place last night. I just had to talk about the neuromonitoring and the brain-to-computer interface technology and the programming and how they, like, kind of will manipulate certain things too. It's like, and then if stuff starts popping in your head that they're sticking in your head all day long, then they'll actually try to perpetuate, like, that's your natural thoughts. But anyway, that's not what happened last night anyway. None of that type of stuff popped in my head. I'm just trying to show you programming, though, and PTSD, etc., and how they're pushing these things in my brain all day long, and also just validating and refuting my thought process and the fact that the proof is in the pudding. For years, you've been monitoring my thoughts. You didn't see lesbian activity until last year with this random female from the job. And again, I told you it was a misunderstanding. Actually, they're seeing through my eyes. Now I'm understanding that they're seeing through my eyes, so they had to have seen what I saw. They're seeing through my eyes. I just realized that recently, y'all. Like, I knew they were reading my thoughts. I knew that much. But I didn't know that they were seeing through my eyes. I actually came across that info years ago when I first learned about them monitoring my thoughts when the thing with the Spanish guy happened. I remember this dude from Philly, this target from Philly, was talking about the fact that they see through your eyes. But I wasn't putting it together. I still wasn't putting it together. I don't know why it didn't register for me. I just knew they were hearing my thoughts and they were monitoring my thoughts and listening to my thoughts. I didn't put it together that they're seeing through my eyes. So they have to know what I'm saying is true about when I crossed in front of her car, what I saw. So even if what I saw was a misunderstanding and I misinterpreted what that look was, they know that I did see something, though. They're seeing through my eyes. So anyways, So that's what it was. It was a misunderstanding, and I'm in a low state. And I've been making out of character choices when it comes to certain things because I'm completely isolated and degraded, and my self-esteem is extremely low from the things that they've been doing. But also they're programming my brain. They've been doing it for years. Gay, gay, gay all day long, and sending the subliminal messaging all day long, flashing it on the screen. You're programming my brain. That's what you're doing. Anyway, nonetheless, that's irrelevant. I don't care. I don't have anything to hide. That's a grown woman. She's older than me. So even if I were today to say, I'm a lesbian now, after everything I've been through, I've decided to go gay. Yay! That's a grown woman. That's not a child. So that doesn't validate anything, and it's years later. She's older than me. I remember when she was telling me her age when we had our first conversation in the facility. She was telling me, I think, 38. This was last year. So at this point now, she's probably 39 because I'm 34 now. And I was 33 back then. So she's like 5 years, something like that, older than me. She's older than me. It's not to say this is somebody my age. This is somebody older. You can see if the thoughts were about a younger female and I was trying to explain what's going on. This is somebody that's older than me. This is an older female, grown woman. So even if today I was to say, hey, yay, I'm gay, you win, you've turned me gay, yay. The thoughts you saw was about an older female, not a child. Yuck. So anyways, y'all, and that's the only thoughts you saw. You didn't see anything else prior to that female. So why now? Nobody can answer that. And you have technology in my brain and you're sending stuff all day long with the technology. Anyway, so off of that though, because I didn't mean to go into that, dig into that thing there. That's something that's just been bothering me for a long time. It's to the point where I see blonde hair and I cringe. It's upsetting me because they keep trying to tie it to the false narrative and it gets me so angry. It's not comparable and it's not relative. Anyway, so back to what happened last night though, because they tried to create this weird perversion situation thing with my old mother, y'all. With my mother is 62 or 63. I think she just made 63. She's elderly and she's my mother. They tried to, first of all, they've done it with my brothers too. They've tried to create perversion with my brothers too. They're doing it on purpose. They do the things they do on purpose to antagonize me. They tried to create this perversion with my brothers too. Just because their names were popping in my head, and that's due to angst and anxiety and the way that the relationships are now. And the fact that everything is televised and on camera. I'm not checking for my brothers. Gross. Yuck. It's just like disgusting. They keep pushing these weird, creepy ass, perverted ass narratives. And it's just like perversion and weird stuff with the target. And y'all, it's weird. Anyway, so with my mom now, they've been watching. I have to laugh. It's so weird. They've been watching me interact with my mom for years now, y'all. They've been watching me before I even tried to relocate off island, okay? But even when I got back on island and now everybody's watching, you've been watching me interact with my mom for the last 4 years. Have you ever seen anything inappropriate with my mother? My elderly mother? My mom has been around me in all kinds of skimpy outfits and skimpy stuff. We have the same thing. You're my mother, I'm a female. Just that same day yesterday, y'all, just yesterday before the thing that happened last night, she came in my room in a towel. And I was crawling where I wasn't even studying the towel she was wearing. I was too busy crawling with her because she was stepping on my good mat with her dirty shoes. And I was crawling with her for it. She wanted to borrow my hairdryer. And one of the mats I use for when I get out the shower to dry my flip-flops. The same kind of flip-flops she has. The other mat, you don't put shoes on it. I put my feet on it. I'm very particular, y'all. I have OCD. She stomps in here and she steps on both mats with her dirty shoes. She's in a towel. I'm not even seeing the towel. I'm too busy studying the fact that she's stomping on my clean mat with her dirty ass shoes. So I remember crawling with her, and I was also dealing with some annoying antagonizing stuff with the targeting as usual when the moment was happening. So I might have seemed more snappy, but I was more so snapping on her for snapping. I don't snap on my mom, by the way. She snaps on me. They all see it. She snaps on me way more than I ever snap on her. But in this moment here, I was snapping on her. I said, get off the mat. I said, you stepping on the mat. Anyway, that's irrelevant, right? But it's not. I just want you to understand she came in my room in a skimpy towel earlier in the day, and I didn't even see the towel. I was too busy. All I could see was red because she's stepping on my clean mat with her dirty shoes. So anyway, she got off the mat, right? And she left and she said, sorry, whatever. And as she's leaving out the room, the towel actually started to open up and it bust open by accident. Business, everything. Sorry, TMI, y'all, but everything came out. And she said, oh, shoot, did you close up? I said, oh, boy. Okay, and she left. I didn't think a second thought about it. They were reading my thoughts. It was nothing. That's, you know how much time to see my mom's boobs, all kinds of stuff? That's my mother, you weirdos. I have to say, I'm sorry. Because they're taking it too far with the targeting now. They're doing too much. I understand you want to antagonize me and push certain things to humiliate me, but this one was a bit too far. So anyway, that moment happened. Thank God. I'm so glad. It was like an irrelevant, invisible part of my day because things like that happen all the time and I don't think twice about it. But I'm so glad it happened on that day. Thank God. Because of what happened later in the day, last night. What this whole video was about. What I'm about to talk about now. So last night she's wearing a t-shirt and she has this new plaid pajama pants that she bought. And I wasn't even paying attention to it because I'm so used to the people in my close circle. I wasn't even supposed to mention the relationship, y'all. I get in trouble for making these videos and mentioning relationships. But I need you to understand the level of perversion that they'll take the thing to. I wanted you to understand that it was my elderly mother. Mind you, 60 isn't that old. I don't want to say elderly like she's an old lady. You're just, to me, and not just to me, I think in general, this is the general consensus. That's why when you hit, I think it's 65 or 66, that's when you're able to get senior benefits. So I think this is a universal perception. When you hit your 60s, you're just entering into the realm of elderly. You still have some pep in your step. You can have pep in your step all the way into your 100s. You can be a centenarian and have pep in your step. I'm studying those people in Okinawa, Japan that have the longest lifespan. And they're well into their 100s. And they're out there working out and putting stuff out the field. And they're eating healthy and intermittent fasting and doing the lifestyle I'm trying to do. So if you live right, you can have pep in your step all the way down into your late 100s, whatever. Into your later years. I'm not trying to, do the ageism thing. But I'm just saying, she still has some youth to her. She's just entering into the realm of elderly. You still have some youth to you. You're just getting into the realm of elderly. You're not that old. So I don't want to keep saying my elderly mother and make you think it's like this decrepit old. She's not that old. But still, she's elderly. She is considered elderly, and this is creepy. This is my elderly mother. Ew. Anyways, so she's wearing the plaid pants, right? I remember they use plaid on me, and they use army, and they use yellow, and they use army fatigue, and they use yellow, and they use purple, and now thank God they use my favorite color, teal, as color sensitization on me. So they've had different things they've grabbed onto with the target. They're having fun on Island, y'all. I think this is like the most fun collaborative thing they've ever done down here, at my expense, is this targeting bullshit. I'm telling you. Anyway, so she wearing the plaid. I'm so used to them doing different stuff to people in my close circle wearing the sensitization. But I think it's just like I was blind to it. I didn't notice it. She was sitting there. I had walked out there. She was in the kitchen when I walked out there the first time. I didn't notice the pants. I talked to her. I moved about, did whatever. I went out there for juice. I was out there back and forth because she even said I kept going back and forth because I was trying to get through my meal prep. I have a certain amount of meals. Y'all know I work out and stuff that I have to eat throughout the day so that I can hit my protein marker and so that I can actually have some muscle growth. So I was back and forth. She even said, why you keep going back and forth? Oh my gosh, why don't you just take the whole pitcher of juice back there with you? She even made that comment because I was going back and forth. She was all in the kitchen. I didn't notice the plaid pants. I didn't notice it. So now this time I go out there, I go in the fridge. I don't remember what I went out there for. And she was at the printer pulling something out of the printer. And I looked down and I noticed the pants was plaid. But then I realized I looked down at her butt area. Like, I'm just being honest with you, the area that I looked down at. I looked and then I did a double take because I realized that the pants was plaid. But then I realized I looked at her butt. And so I got uncomfortable and I turned my head quick. And it was like similar to the moment that happened with my niece when she bent into the bin when she was wearing the little short pants, something I think they set up. When I was in Florida, y'all, when I tried to relocate off island, I ended up living in my car in Florida shortly before I came back to island. And I told you I went to the neighborhood where my sister and I'm trying not to use family members. I try to say people in my close circle. But the whole false narrative that they created from the text message, y'all. If you listen to my full story, you'll hear the details about my sister and my niece and what they created. So anyway, I went in the neighborhood. As soon as I got in the neighborhood, they start doing ref campaign in the roads. And I was at this point having these weird, like, shaky kind of reactions where I was trembling and breathing fast. And it's because I was staying in my car and they were using the technology on me and I didn't know about it back then. I didn't even know I was a target yet. When I tried to relocate off island before I got back on island and did research, I didn't know I was a target. I just knew the thing on island followed me and blew up. and some crazy shit was happening and I thought it was witchcraft. So anyway, I remember I was looking up these biblical videos for spiritual protection. This is what led to me sharing the offensive Hebrew Israelite propaganda, by the way, y'all. In high school, we were taught to be Hebrew. We grew up in a house that was free thinking. We were Rastafari/Christian. And then in high school, I've told the story a million times. My dad came home with the Hebrew Israelite ideology and taught all of us it. And eventually that was what we all adopted. That's what happened. I'm just being honest and candid with you. There are different ideologies out there. Not everyone believes the same thing in that community. So not everyone believes the offensive stuff that I was sharing in my car in that community. But anyway, so at the time it was Hebrew. That was my belief system. All of us in here were/are. They still are. I don't really classify myself after what I've been through. I don't classify myself as anything. I believe in the Bible. I believe that God is real. I believe in Jesus. I believe in God. Or Yahweh, Yahshua. That's just the Hebrew name for it. Their original language, whatever. Whatever you want to call him. Jehovah. The Bible says he has many names. Whatever the name is. I believe in God and I believe in the Bible. I don't subscribe to being Hebrew anymore. After what I've been through, I've completely detached from that. But anyway, the people in this house are still Hebrew to this day. So anyway, I forgot what I was going to say. So that was my belief system at the time. And I thought I was dealing with witchcraft. I really did. I didn't know about the technology and the things I know now about targeting, etc. So I was looking up biblical videos, Hebrew biblical videos about spiritual protection from spiritual warfare. And with the technology, the shadow networking technology, every video I clicked on, they were purposely pushing the false narrative that was created from the text message. Every video was about sexual predators and just weird stuff, man. Everything I clicked on, and I couldn't understand what was going on. I was like, oh my God, these people are really going to think I did something. Why every video that I'm clicking on, this theme is coming up? I'm like, I know I didn't do anything. I'm like, why it's looking bad? And the more these videos would pop up, the more they would be revving on top of me in the background. There was so many cars. They'd be revving and going crazy in the background. And so I started to it was a mix of anger and anxiety. I started having these anxious PTSD reactions where I'm breathing funny and trembling. But then I started getting angry because I knew I didn't do anything. And everything I'm clicking on, this thing was popping up. So I started getting angry and I purposely started putting on offensive Hebrew Israelite videos. It was a spiteful thing. I knew it was being watched on camera. Obviously, they saw what happened. I purposely started putting on offensive Hebrew Israelite content. Purposefully. I found the most offensive shit I could find and I started putting it on out of anger. They ran with that. And then try to paint it like that's why you're doing it. Please. Before I left Island, you were doing this to me. And you attached the thing to me too. Then on top of things, to further validate what I'm saying, you use the guys that created the content as gang stalkers. So no, that's not what it's about. But they're pushing that so hard. That's not what it's about. Why are you pretending like that's what it's about? You haven't seen me share that content in 4 years. Other than the angry reaction I was having in my car when I shared it, I've been nothing but apologetic. I'm not continuing to share it. I don't have a history of sharing those things. You use the guys that created the content as gang stalkers. But you're pushing it like that's one of the main staple things they try to use as a reason for why they do. No, that's not why you're doing it. Because you were doing it for 2 years before I tried to relocate off island. They just keep trying to pull like everything for the reason as the reason for why they're doing what they're doing. I've already knocked down the false narrative from the text message, but to further validate, they've sensationalized people that have very sketchy passes that they know have done stuff that resembles the text message. And they're sensationalizing and supporting these characters in the targeting. And I'm not even just talking about one person, because there's one person recently I talked about, but even the guy that did what he did to me when I was blacked out, I told him he did it to someone else too. They're supporting him and sending stuff with the technology like they're supporting him. I'm like, what is this really about? Why are you really doing this to me? It's not about anything that you're pretending it's about. Other than a grudge and you just like torturing me. It's fun watching somebody that you think is a bitch get tortured. I mean, it's been 6 years now. Come on. That's a long time to do this to someone. Anyway, nonetheless, y'all. So back to what happened last night, y'all. I'm keep going off on tangents. I just keep trying to figure this shit out. I cannot make sense of it. Anyway, so while she's in the printer, I looked down, I noticed the plaid pants, but then I realized I looked at her butt, and I tried to turn my head, and I realized it was a moment that was similar to what happened with my niece before I came back on island in 2022, when I was still living in my car in Florida, and I went to my sister's house to bathe. And my niece came out in this short pants, and at this point they kept sending stuff about predators and pedophiles and weird shit and revving up on top of me, and I was having these anxious PTSD reactions. So seeing her in the short pants, I got freaked out. And then she went into the toy box and bent into the toy box to pick something out of the toy box. And I turned my head and I hid my head. I used to bathe my niece. This is similar to yesterday, how I said my mom came in the room and her towel flew open and I didn't even think twice about it. I didn't care. And then last night I had that moment where I turned my head and I'm acting like I'm acting Bassity. This was kind of like what happened with my niece. I used to bathe my niece. I've seen her naked multiple times. I changed her diaper, I bathed her, etc. So a short pants is nothing. But she came out in the short pants and they started revving. As soon as she walked out from the back room in the short pants, they started revving like crazy in the neighborhood. So I was already trembling and breathing funny. And then, of all things, she goes right in front of the toy bin to grab a toy out of the toy bin. So I remember hiding my face. They ran with that moment for years. They ran with it. So I'm traumatized and I have PTSD. If ever there's a moment where I feel like I looked at something, I turned my head quickly, immediately I'm like, oh my God, it's something else they're going to use. It's like PTSD. Immediately when I had that moment with my mom last night, I immediately like panicked. I was like, oh my God. And so I remember I came back to the room and I kept thinking about what just happened. I kept thinking about it and thinking about it. Immediately with the technology, they start sending stuff. And so I remember I got so angry. I said, this is why they sent some video last night in, I believe in the chat about this bunny rabbit. And it says, how fast does your mood change? And it says, my sister. And it's like this bipolar bunny where like 1 minute it was looking like it was happy and then the next minute it was like flipping out. And then the next minute it was crying and it just like went through like every emotion in the span of 30 seconds. That's what happens to targets in the Gaslighting call you bipolar. I've never been classified as bipolar or somebody that was moody or unstable or who had highs and lows. I've never been described as that. I've never been described as an angry person. These are all adjectives that attached itself to me after the targeting. I was never, out of all of my siblings, I've always been considered the most laid back and calm, even keel one. Anyway, y'all, so immediately they start sending stuff with the technology, and that's why I started making this video. Then I go to work, they send something about thick. First of all, my mom isn't thick. I mean, yeah, she has some shape to her, yeah. I mean, but I wouldn't call my mom thick, especially not nowadays. She's older, and we were talking about the fact that she lost weight. You know, she looks good for her age, but I wouldn't call my mom thick. From what I understand, back in the day, she used to have a good shape, though. And that's why my sisters are shaped the way they are, and even me, right? But my sisters, more so, and this is more so proof to validate what I'm saying, that it wasn't what they thought, because my younger sister just recently came out in a short pants, and she has a big behind. She has a big butt. So does my older sister. They've been around me multiple times. I've seen them naked, and even, you know, now that the things are weird, and the targeting has created this kind of weird relationship between us, we still kind of go around each other any old way. She came out just the other day in a short little pants, and she has actually a big butt. I didn't even really see it. It's like invisible to me because I'm used to seeing that. These are my siblings. My older sister, same way, has the same type of shape. So this is the type of shape I think it came from my mom and my dad. I have a decent shape too. They try to come for me, right? Again, psychological warfare. If I didn't look in the mirror and if I didn't take videos, I would be confused. I don't have a big butt. I'm not like my sisters. I don't have a big butt, but I have something back there. I don't know. It's like the gene pool skipped me when it came to that. I don't know what it was. It skipped me. So I didn't get the big butt. But I don't have a flat butt either. They keep trying to make excuses for the shape that I have. Oh, it's anterior pelvic. What were they saying to me? Anterior pelvic tilting. That's why my back is curving and it looks like I have a butt, but I don't have a butt. It's just weird stuff. They're sending it to me, trying to like validate whatever. I know my shape is okay. I know it's not bad. I've looked in the mirror. I've taken videos. I know what happened when I was in the jail. When I was in the jail, I was wearing a mask and shades, y'all, because this activity that was going on in there that made me uncomfortable, that I've talked about in prior videos where I felt kind of like I was being picked on. I was wearing a mask and shades most of the time in there. Like, the inmates saw my face, like, probably I could count on my one hand the amount of times they saw my face. What they were seeing was my body, and I had gained a lot of weight back then too. That was back when I was eating a lot of, this is why I believe I have fibroids. I was eating a lot of dairy and whey protein, and I was 192 pounds, and I was working out and stuff. They were going ham in there, some of the inmates. And I think it was my body. It wasn't my face. My face was covered for the most part. So anyway, y'all, I have a decent shape. You've seen it. You've seen the pictures. You've seen the videos. So I'm not too far off, right? But they try to mess with me psychologically. Psychological warfare. They try to make me question everything about myself and have this warped sense of self. But nonetheless, I'm just bringing up, you know, the fact that I've been around these people my whole life. Like, they've been shaped the way they've been shaped my whole life. Nowadays, my mom is actually really skinny compared to how she used to be. And she's older, too. I'm not looking at my mom like that. Yuck. Barf. Gross. My sister, who's young, if I wear some sort of weird, freaky, perverted, whatever that they're trying to perpetuate, she came out in a short pants. I would have been looking at that, don't you think? She does it all the time. She comes out in short pants all the time. I don't have these kind of moments where I'm turning my head and stuff. What it was that I looked down at the plaid pattern, and I noticed the plaid pattern, and then I realized I looked at her butt. And so I got back, and I turned my head. And then I realized what I did. I said, oh my God, I did the turn head thing, and I started freaking out. And then I came in the room, and I kept overthinking it, and then I tried to push the thought out my head because I know they're reading my thoughts. My God, it just was, they immediately ran with it with the technology. I'm like, no, I have to make a video about this. I'm like, I realized that I'm on eggshells with it's not even just that. It's even with the white people thing. Like, the moment they see me have some sort of reaction, white people, they're ready to hop on me too. So it's like this state of constant, like, stress, and the cortisol level remains high. And it's like feeling like I'm on eggshells about everything, and they're staring at me obsessively, and they won't take the cameras off me. And it's like every little thing I feel like I'm on eggshells. It's really like, I can't live like this. And it's just a part of the torture. They purposely keep making me feel like I'm on eggshells about everything. The shows I'm watching, you know, if they feel like, you know, if I feel like I do the wrong face while I'm watching the shows with white people, they're making noises and they're ready to hop on me. They're purposely doing this. So anyway, I remember I came back in the room after they started doing what they were doing, and I immediately started making this video, you know, what you heard, the prior clips you heard last night. Next, you know, I go to work, I see them putting stuff in the newsfeed about thick, and they keep sending me stuff about thick now. I'm like, are you perverted? I'm not looking at my elderly mother like that. And if I were going to look at her like that, don't you think it would have happened within the course of the last 4 years that you've been watching us? She's come around me in all kinds of different outfits. Did you see any moment like that before? Why now again? Why now randomly? When just earlier, in that same day, she was in my room in a skimpy towel, and the towel bust open, and I didn't give it a second thought. You didn't see me turn my head or act awkward or anything like that. A plaid pants? This was the defining moment where I decided, oh, I want to look at, what? Anyway, so this is what I'm dealing with, y'all. This is the level of perversion, like, all day long. And it's not even just perversion. It's just, like, again, psychological warfare. It's everything. I feel like I'm on eggshells with everything, and they're staring at me, and I realize they want me, like, I think they're trying to get something on me. I'm like, why are they still holding me? Why are they still holding me? Why are they still holding me? I'm realizing it's like, I think they're hoping to get something on me. I'm terrified. They will not let me go. I think they are actually trying to get something on me. I am terrified, y'all. Anyways, y'all, that's all it did. I have to talk about it. So this is documentation, y'all, obviously, of PTSD and trauma. And then it's also just talking about the brain-to-computer interface technology and the agenda behind it and what I've been dealing with in the targeting. I've heard many other targets talk about the same thing I'm talking about and going through the same thing that I'm going through. Check out the links with Dr. Phil V that I mentioned in the comment section and description box. Then check out the video with Michael Barden in the description box and comment section. And there are other neuromonitoring brain to computer interface videos in the description box and comment section as well. Check it out, y'all. We're in some strange times. And when I say strange, I mean weird. Okay, what they did last night, that was too much. They're taking it too far now. Anyways, I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace out. Y'all, I just wanted to go scroll to that video where I actually talked about in detail what took place with my niece and what was happening to me around the time when that thing happened. So y'all can check that video out if you want to, if you haven't already, because that's something they use as sensitization on me throughout the years in the targeting. Of course, things have shifted now, y'all, and everything's become this big joke where it's like a lot of things that they're like, it's almost like become like a parody. This thing, it's like this big joke, and they're using all of these different false narratives against me in like a comical way, in a bullying, like make fun of me type of way, as like this sort of punishment or retribution for me, quote unquote, bearing false witness. But if you listen to my story, y'all, you'll hear that there was no malicious intent behind the things I said, and the punishment is not fitting the crime. It's just not making sense, and it almost feels like they're actually truly trying to get something on me, even though they're playing it like it's a joke and stuff. I feel like low-key they are. Like, I will be feeling that way. Anyway, this is the video here, y'all, where you see the thumbnail with the man bending over in the little short black pants and his behind up in the air. It says sharing stimuli used to sensitize me. You can see I posted that 2 years ago. It was almost 3 years ago now at this point, y'all. You check that video out if you want to hear the story or the details behind that moment with my niece and what was happening around that time. Please listen to that video, y'all. I even cried in the video. I don't cry like that. It has to be something that's really bothering me, because I do not cry like that. They keep making it like I'm like a sociopath, or the stuff they're doing, ironically enough, or I would say hypocritically enough, is more sociopathic than what I'm doing, where they're watching me and enjoying like my humiliation and my pain. That's sociopathic. That's actually sadism, which is a sociopathic tendency, is to be into sadism, to be sadistic. But they keep making it like I'm this cold person that doesn't have emotions. No, I'm desensitized and I'm traumatized and I've detached from my emotions. But in this video, I actually cried. I was so upset about it. Anyway, so check that video out, y'all. I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace out. Hey, y'all. So this is an add-on to the video, or an update, right? I wouldn't say an update, but an add-on. I haven't posted the video you just listened to yet, so this clip is being added on after making the video. I just want to document some of the activity that took place yesterday, and also some of the activity that took place last night / this morning at work. Remember, y'all, I work the graveyard shift, so I work from 12 a.m. to 8 a.m., so it feels like nighttime and it's dark out, but technically I'm working in the morning, in the a.m. I'm working from 12 a.m. to 8 a.m., but still sometimes you'll hear me say I worked last night because it is a night shift, although it's in the a.m., right? So before I talk about what they were doing to me last night at work, y'all, just continued torture as some sort of retribution for this man from the gym whose feelings were hurt. They're torturing me non-stop, y'all. I keep begging them to leave me alone and stop. And it's not ending because they feel like there's some sort of invisible competition that they lost. And so I have to suffer for it. I've been suffering for years over this situation, over a man that I was not in a relationship with, that I could give two hoots about. Now I'm sounding disrespectful, y'all. You can listen to the progression of how I talked about the situation over the course of the last year and change, and dealing with the antagonization and the torture due to things that are out of my control. My videos went from humble and respectful to more and more disrespect, and to me sounding more and more agitated, because I'm actually getting tortured for something that's out of my control, y'all. Multiple things that happened with that situation that they weren't happy with. And so I have to suffer because they're running the strings and they're in control of everything. They're impeding my workout, y'all. They're recruiting people and throwing them on top of me over this situation. They pulled out not a sex tape, y'all. I've never lived a scandalous life. And even if you are someone that made a sex tape, I'm not judging you. But I've never lived a scandalous life where I was making sex tapes. But they started taunting me about the fact that they were surveilling me in my apartment 4 years ago when I had intercourse with an ex, as a way to humiliate and hurt me because they didn't like how things went down with this man from the old gym and his girlfriend. These are the things I'm dealing with, y'all. It's like constantly every day they're trying to humiliate me or take a dig out of me because of this man that I don't give a fuck about. I've said it, like, y'all, I have so many videos where I have said the same thing, where I'm about to burst a blood vessel and they're still torturing me over this fucking man. It's insanity, y'all. Like, that's not even a strong enough adjective to describe what this is. So anyway, y'all, continue torture and suffering because of whatever happened with this person that was their friend whose feelings got hurt. So, and mind you, he started with me first, right? If you listen to the story and what took place between him and I, he started with me first. I had one reaction to what he was doing for a whole month to me. And it's been up since then. I've had to suffer. They kept throwing his girlfriend on top of me. I didn't give a shit. When they realized I didn't care about the girl, right? They started doing these low-level tactics, like trying to get a reaction out of me. They made two of his friends, do directed convoy around me, trying to insult me and tear me down while kind of trying to uplift her and do this comparison thing, right? Mind you, one of the friends used to be checking me out. I thought it was hilarious that they tried to use him. Anyway, whatever the case is, right? So they tried to do that. That was the first thing they did, right? After me not having a reaction to them simply bringing her around. Sorry, y'all, for the interruption. Anyway, it's one of those days where my video's getting interrupted every 5 seconds now because I'm saying things that make sense. But anyways, I'm going to try to talk softer. But what they were initially doing was having him, or he was doing this, bringing her around and like following me around the gym, working out in close proximity to me. I'm in the back room trying to do my leg adductors or adductions. And if you look up that workout, you'll see it's that machine where you open your legs, close your legs, open your legs, and it works the inner thigh. So it's a provocative looking workout. And you don't feel comfortable with somebody being on top of you while you're trying to do that type of workout. He brings the girl to the back room and he's going to put her on the machine that's directly to the left of me, which was like an ab crunch machine, but it's in close proximity to the adductor machine. And then he's going to proceed to squeeze himself in between the two machines. So he's right next to me while I'm opening my legs and trying to do this damn workout. So I'm noticing he's following me around the gym with this female. I'm like, why is he working out so close to me? Like, yeah, he's always in the area, but it's not like this where it feels like he's working out on top of me. So eventually, I guess I wasn't catching on to what they wanted me to catch on. I guess my reaction wasn't what they were looking for. He now boldly and blatantly blocks the mirror while I'm on the Smith machine trying to do my squats, y'all. He takes the girl and he goes in front of the mirror and blocks my workout and starts doing bicep curls with her. And then he starts blowing kisses at her in the mirror. So that's why I was like, oh, that's why he keeps bringing this girl around and working out on top of me. Right? Y'all, hold on. Somebody's coming through the gate. Hold on a second. Yeah, y'all. So it was like an epiphany. That moment, that aha moment where I was like, okay, so that's why he keeps bringing her around me. And me being the humble person that I am, I didn't give a rat's ass. The girl is no competition to me. And also, I don't like him like that. I don't care. I didn't care. And that's what the problem is. So anyway, me being the humble person that I am, I in my head thought to myself, okay, I know why he's doing this. It's because of the mean things that I thought about him after a month of him doing things to me first. I was like, okay, so he felt bad. This is why he's putting her on top of me or whatever. Okay, cool, whatever. I figured now that he knows that I know that this is his girlfriend, the thing's gonna stop. It did not stop because I didn't have a reaction that was satisfactory. I didn't look like I cared. Look at them doing noise campaigns outside now, these fucking nutcases. Listen, y'all. You heard the loud squeaking sound? It stopped now. Like, this is what they do. They keep perpetuating these false narratives and going along with the fanfare of torturing me for things that are out of my control due to this person. And then when I sit down and I make videos that make sense, I'm talking about what they've been doing and how crazy what they're doing is, they'll start to do things to try to shut down my video or drown out what I'm saying. Like what happened just now with the person in my close circle that all of a sudden is interrupting my videos today. Anytime I'm making a video that makes sense, that's knocking down something they're trying to do, that's dead wrong, you can bet your bottom dollar the video is going to keep getting interrupted. Hold on, y'all. Somebody's passing through the door again. Hold on. This is somebody leaving the house now. This is not the same person that interrupted my video, but you're going to hear it. So I'm just trying to let her leave. Okay. All right, y'all. So this is what I'm dealing with, y'all. It's just completely unfair. And what you have is a bunch of subjective people that are willing to hop on the bandwagon because they have a problem with me for one reason or the other. You know how it is when you're targeted. It's like you get villainized and vilified, and it's not difficult to recruit people and have them join the hate train, especially when you start having some of the reactions you start having to the unfair treatment and the torture. That's why I say the program's satanic, because they're doing all these satanic ritualistic torture tactics nonstop. You have human responses or reactions, and then they villainize you for the reactions you're having. And rather than looking at the situation objectively, like, okay, this person is reacting to torture, that's why they're acting like this, you have people that are just like, no, that's a bad person, and they're hopping on. Like, that's just how it works. I've seen it with targets across the board, y'all. It's not just me. Like, literally anyone that gets thrown into this program, it's like human nature. I'm like, there has to be somebody whose brain works different. That isn't like, it's just crazy. I've seen it happen to different people across the board. Once you get targeted, this is what happens. And Eric Snowden talked about it. He was a whistleblower. He worked for the Patriot Act, y'all. And so he was one of those people in back offices, in one of those underground top secret buildings, monitoring people's phone calls and working for the Patriot Act. And he felt like it wasn't right. He felt like it was an infringement on human rights. So what he did was he took what he knew and he went over to China and he blew the whistle about it. And it wasn't really just so much the invasion of privacy that he found disturbing, but it was the actions taken due to the invasion of privacy. Like, he saw some people getting targeted or thrown on terrorist lists for conversations that they were having, private conversations where they hadn't committed a crime. This is what he said. He saw like simple, minute things, innocent people getting tortured or thrown on terrorist lists for things that he felt they did not deserve to be thrown on terrorist lists for. So he went over to China and he blew the whistle. He became a whistleblower and obviously got targeted. And so he has videos online talking about this program and how it works. And how once they have you in their grips and they put you on the list and you're getting targeted and you're getting the targeted individual treatment, they're going to use the full program on you and all the tactics of COINTELPRO, which is to villainize you, torture you nonstop, dig in your past, manipulate, paint false narratives. They do it to all targets. And every time, you can bet your bottom dollar, there are large amounts of people that are against the target. Every time. It never fails. And then, of course, you have some people who can see, right, who aren't subjective and who have common sense and can see what's going on. But those people are they're going to get ganged up on. They're going to get bullied. If you look like you're supporting the target, they're going to bully you. I've seen it. They're going to bully you. Right now, they're trying to do this thing where they're trying to paint this perception of me being this unwanted, vapid female as some sort of retribution for this man from the gym whose feelings got hurt. So part of what they're doing is making sure that I stay isolated, which is a tactic they use on targets anyway. But they're manipulating with my Facebook. They're doing weird shit with my Facebook in person. If it looks like a man even looks at me for a second, they're diving birds down. These are the tactics they're using. It's like this bully tactic. Like, you better not fuck with that person or you won't get the treatment too. Like, they will bully you if you look like you're messing with the target or if you fuck with the target. So anyway, it's this isolation tactic, these isolation tactics that they use on the target. That amongst other things. But they're going to villainize you, and they're very good at doing it. And likely you're going to have human responses to unfair treatment and torture, especially if you haven't committed a crime. And some of these reactions might be egregious. You might say offensive shit, and more people hop on. And it's just how it works. I've studied the thing for years. There are endless targets I've seen of different walks of life, different races, different ethnicities, different ages, different demographics. And it's all the same. It's the same thing every time. And they're painting it like you're a narcissist that has anger issues and you're bipolar and you're this and that, when it's all the satanic abuse that they're enacting. Anyway, nonetheless, y'all, let me continue with this crazy situation with this man from the gym that I don't give a fuck about, right? So now I'm getting nasty with it. I've been nasty for the last couple of months now because I'm up to hair with it, y'all, with what I've been dealing with. It went from, it was a slow progression from me talking about it humbly to me being very candid and vulgar about the situation and brutally honest. So anyways, y'all, it's just, I cannot make this shit up. This stuff I've been dealing with, y'all. Thank God I've documented everything. So you can follow the paper trail of videos that I've made talking about the situation and the things that have occurred. Anyways, y'all. So after the man, because I've talked about this a million times, I don't feel like telling the story again, but it's almost like this weird thing where I feel like I have to keep sitting down and making videos because the subjective psychopaths who are supporting the situation despite knowing that the person was dead wrong, they'll have these moments where they'll do this manipulative tactic and they all hop on like they did something. And so I feel like I have to come in a video and spit the facts. So anyway, after him bringing a girl around me multiple times and like doing weird tactics, working out on top of me in close proximity to me with the female and me not giving a shit, that was when they used the tactic of having his friends do directed convo. One of the friends who was checking me out in the past, by the way. But anyway, having the friends do directed convo, comparing me to the girl basically and tearing me down. So that was the first time they got a reaction out of me. And it wasn't about her or him. It was about the principle and the fact that I know why you're doing what you're doing. You're literally tearing me down because the man's feelings got hurt. You brought the girlfriend around. I didn't give a shit. You didn't get the reaction you were looking for. So now it's tear her down to try to get the reaction that we're looking for, the revenge we're trying to get, whatever it is you're trying to do. You know, I still didn't insult the girl. That's to tell you there's a difference between my character and hers because they keep trying to paint it like I'm this bad person, whatever. I'm a different type of female. I believe had she been in my shoes, she might have went ham about what they were saying and insulted me. Just based on her actions from 4 months ago, 5 months ago, what she did. I'm not that type of female. I'm not catty. And I'm not fighting over a man. Even if I genuinely did like him, which I didn't. I damn sure I'm not going to sit there and start tearing another female down over a man. I'm not doing it. Either you want me or you don't. I'm not going to tear down a female over a man. I don't care. Anyway, so when they were insulting me, the two dudes doing the clown activity, I never insulted her. In fact, I went in a video and I complimented her purposefully to show them that I'm not that type of female. You're not going to get me at a low level where I'm going to start being catty and insulting this female because you're trying to compare us and do some sort of petty shit. So instead, I more so went in on the friends, especially the one that had seen checking me out before. I was like, really? So in the video, I was talking about the tactic that was obvious that they were using. I didn't talk about the fact that I think I look way better than her. Nor did I insult her looks. I never did that. In fact, I complimented her. And I said I understood why he did what he did. I know his feelings were hurt. Whatever I said in the video, man, I think the video is still posted. And I said he looks happy, good for him. Does that sound like somebody that's bitter or hurt? Am I the one that's having the issue? Am I the one that's having the issue, y'all? So you would have thought that video would have been enough. It wasn't. They still continue to torture me because I didn't look bothered over this this female that they started bringing around, or the stupid petty tactics they were using. I didn't care. Or they started realizing, oh shit, she didn't really like him. Whatever it was that bothered them. They have been torturing me nonstop about the situation, and it was a slow progression from me being humble about it to me getting very, very vulgar and mean. And I didn't really start saying mean stuff about the girl until she did stuff first. The first thing she did, I talked about this already, was I was in there working out. This was before I left the old gym, y'all. I think this was in last year, 2025, like around the beginning or the middle of last year. They still kept having him come around me and doing strange things, right? In addition to having his friends that were like goons in that gym, doing these bullying tactics and coming on top of me and doing all these bullying ass tactics as revenge for him. Right? So anyways, he came around and I'm in there working out. And around this time, Angie Stone had passed away. I grew up listening to Angie Stone. That's the type of music my mother listened to. She listened to neo soul type music. Although we're from the islands and stuff, my mother grew up in New York. So it's like she has this eclectic taste in music. It wasn't like I just grew up listening to island music. We grew up listening to a lot of hip hop, R&B, neo soul specifically, etc. So Lauryn Hill, Erykah Badu, Joe Scott, excuse me, y'all, and Angie Stone, to name a few. So when Angie Stone passed away last year, that was something like it hit me. I was one of the millennials that it hit because I actually grew up listening to her. You have some people who just learned about Angie Stone because she passed away, and there's this big conspiracy theory about the way she passed. And so her music started trending, and some people started listening and like, oh, okay, her music is nice. Wow. But some of them didn't grow up listening to her. I grew up listening to Angie Stone. So I remembered when she passed away, I remember it hitting me like, first of all, it was nostalgia just listening to her music again, but then it was like sad too. I was like, oh my God, this iconic part of my childhood is gone. Oh my God. It felt bad. Anyway, so I started downloading a bunch of her songs on my playlist. I didn't even really care about the message. None of these songs were pertinent to me or relevant to me. It wasn't about anything that I was going through. I just started downloading a bunch of her music. There was multiple songs I put on my playlist. So anyway, I go in the gym, they're bringing him around still, right? So his friends are coming around doing bullying tactics, and he's coming around me again working out, right? He stops bringing the girlfriend on top of me, thank God, right? So anyway, I'm doing leg curls. I was laying down doing leg curls, and one of the songs, I didn't put the song on. It came on the playlist. And it was a song for Angie Stone where she was talking about, I guess, this controlling ex that she had. I was never with this man. That's why I said these people are delusional. You would swear I dated the dude and did him wrong with the stuff that they're doing. It's like the delusion is strong. So anyway, I was laying there and I was doing the leg curls, and she's singing about an ex, obviously, an abusive ex. So she's talking about how you so, I forgot now the lyrics. She was saying basically like, you're so busy following me around is basically what she's saying. Like, he's so obsessed with following her around and being controlling that he can't even really hold down a job, is what she's saying in the song. Too busy following around me, can't even hold down a job, whatever she's saying. So while she's saying this, I'm doing my reps. They're listening to me count out the reps. They know everything, right? They're watching me so freaking hard. They're so obsessed with everything that I'm doing. They know my workouts to a T. And I've proven this before in prior videos where they knew what weight I was going for. They know how many reps I'm going to be doing. Sometimes to impede the workout, I'm going to talk about that in a minute too, this tactic they're doing. They'll have somebody grab the weight that they know I'm going to use. A gang stalker. So you know I didn't stop the rep purposefully when she said what she said. You knew that I finished my set. Why would that be something that triggered you or bothered you? Were we together? So anyway, the rep ended, right? The reps. I was doing a set, and the reps ended around the time where she was saying, you so busy, you can't even hold down a job, you too busy following around me. I guess he was feeling guilty or something. Because then he started doing this weird thing, like where I noticed he got mad and he started stomping back and forth between the bathroom and the cooler. And he went and started grabbing water. Like, he went outside and he came in with a big, huge cart of water and started stuffing water in the fridge. And he was doing something else. I forgot what else he did. Some other crazy thing he did. So when I realized he got affected by that, what was said in the song, that's when I purposely now went on the Smith machine and I purposely kept squatting, and I put the song on repeat on purpose. And I purposely kept squatting down at the part where she was saying the following around me thing, because I see he got affected and he went and got a whole cart of water and started slamming stuff in the freezer and whatever else he was doing. So I'm like, why would you think this was for you? We weren't together. Why would this be something that would affect you? And now at this point, now you have a girlfriend that you're putting on top of me. Why would you feel like this is for you? So anyways, y'all, then he looked like he got basity too, because then after he finished slamming the waters into the freezer, then he went over to a machine and sat there and started doing like bench presses or whatever it's called. And he was looking basity, man. He just was looking basity over there. I was just like, what the hell is going on? So anyway, after that day, I stopped seeing him. All of a sudden, his girlfriend starts coming to the gym. I start putting the girlfriend in the gym. I'm like, I don't care about this stuff. I'm coming here to work out. I don't care about this man. I wasn't saying that back then. I wasn't being a bitch about it like how I am now because of the horrible tactics that they've used on me. But I'm like, if it's not like blatantly evident that I don't care, it should be clear that I don't care. Anyway, they're bringing the girlfriend in now. She starts coming in. So it's just, to me, the whole thing was comical. It's like every time she's coming in, at the time when I'm coming in to work out, the time where he was coming in, and they were putting him on top of me, I just thought the whole thing was comical. I'm like, what the fuck is this? So I remember there was a song that came on. I don't even remember the song, y'all, or the artist. I can't remember. But one of the times she came in, she was behind me in the mirror while I was on the Smith machine. And so something in the song said something about leave. In one of the songs that was playing while I was squatting, it said something about leave. And this was the first petty thing that she did. She stood up behind me in the mirror and just kind of paused and stared at me when it said leave. And then she turned around and walked off. So after that happened, every time she came in, I would start to snicker. Every time she came in after that happened, I would start snickering. So I remember I was sitting down, and at this time I had started doing this new workout where I was trying to work my chest out, and so I started doing chest flies. And so I was sitting there doing chest flies, and the chest fly machine is facing the door as you come through the door of that old gym. Well, how it used to be. They changed it now, so that's no longer the entrance, but how the entrance used to be. So I'm sitting there doing the chest flies, and she comes in like how she's been doing, coming in during my workout, right? And so when she came in, I started snickering. It was just like, to me, it was comical, especially after she insinuated that I needed to leave. When I've been in this gym working out long before you were with this man, I'm not coming here for him. I'm coming here to work out. I'm not going to leave my gym because at this point now it's the patron's gym. I don't own the gym, but if I'm paying to utilize the gym, this is my gym. And it's being shared and utilized by all of the patrons that pay to use it. I'm not going to leave my gym because you and your boyfriend are having a complex. You just got with him. I've been in this gym working out. So the whole thing was comical to me. So every time she came in, I was snickering at that point. That's when I started being petty, after she did the leave thing. Still didn't insult the girl, by the way, but I would just do this petty thing where I would snicker every time she's coming in. So this time, like I said, I was facing the door and she's coming in, and I started snickering when she came in. So then all of a sudden, I guess the guys' goons, I keep calling them goons because the stuff they were doing to me in that old gym and what they're still doing at this point. I'm in a new gym. They're still doing horrible stuff. But his friends were like goons in that old gym. That's what they turned into. Like goons on top of me. Anyway, so this one dude I had an interaction with during the nighttime that I think also got, I don't know, offended by a reaction I had to what he was doing first. I think he felt emasculated or whatever happened. Because he even pulled up on me at a gas station, too. There was one time where he pulled up on me at the gas station. Anyway, he comes in after I did the snicker thing, right? I guess he was watching me on camera and got triggered or whatever and wanted to hop in and try to help or whatever. He comes in, right? And she moves over to wherever she moves to and starts working out. He comes in and starts hanging off of her. And he says something in her ear. And then they both start acting like they're laughing. Like it was this fake forced crack up laugh that they were like trying to do on the camera. But of course, I feel ganged up on y'all. I've been dealing with, like I said, bullying from all of these people because of what happened with this man. So it's all of his friends that are doing bullying tactics. They were all attacking me. It wasn't like the kind of attack where you're physically coming and hitting me. No, it's these petty subliminal things where you're coming and working out in my space, or you're purposely going on the machine you know I'm supposed to go on and then guzzling water and staring at me. You're putting water bottles down in spaces where you know I'm about to go to. Things like that. They started doing these bullying tactics, trying to perpetuate the false narrative of me being thirsty. Right? So anyways, so she and this guy start cracking up and he acting like he hanging off for her and they're cracking up. It looks so fake, y'all. And even though I have the common sense to know that it was a fake tactic that they were doing, I still had a reaction. I got this look on my face. Like this was the first time where I think they got a reaction that they were satisfied, not satisfied enough. This would have ended if they felt satisfied enough with some reaction they got from me. They have yet to get what it is, whatever crazy ass sadistic shit they're looking for from me. They have yet to get it. So that's why I'm still suffering. But I think this was the first time they got some sort of hit that felt slightly satisfactory to them. So I finally, when they started doing the crack up thing, that's where I got kind of awkward because I remembered that all his friends had been ganging up on me, including that friend. That friend actually pulled up on me at the gas station. And what happened was he came in a night while I was working out in there, again, squatting, minding my business. He came next to me and started doing these overhead presses. And he was using a 45-pound barbell. And then he put two 10-pound plates on the 45-pound barbell. So it was like a 75-pound overhead press. So while he's doing the 75-pound overhead press, he keeps looking at me and pinching his nose and pulling his nose and trying to get my attention. Just some of the same bullying tactics that his goons started doing to me. So I back then wasn't controlling my reactions, especially when it came to the men. Like with the girlfriend, I didn't do any, like I held my tongue with her until she started doing stuff. It wasn't until she started doing stuff where I said something, and I still didn't say anything nasty until recently, y'all. I actually didn't say anything nasty about her until recently, like in this month. Anyway, so nonetheless, so he's pinching his nose, right? He started pinching his nose, and he kept looking at me and pinching his nose and doing the 75-pound overhead press. So to me, I thought that was funny because I'm like, okay, so you're another one that's trying to get some sort of, I don't know what you're trying to do, trying to bully me as some sort of retribution for this man that started with me first. I just thought it was funny it took so many of them to try to hurt me over something that he started. But anyway, so you're doing that, and then you're pressing 75 pounds over your head. Meanwhile, I have a big 250 pounds on my back that I'm squatting. So that's where I started going in on him. I said, you're standing here trying to get my attention and trying to do petty stuff. I thought this, y'all. Remember with the neuromonitoring, they can hear your thoughts. Remember, that's what this whole video was about neuromonitoring and how they can hear your thoughts. So I thought in my head, I knew he could hear my thoughts. I said, you're standing there trying to get my attention, doing these petty, weird tactics while you're pressing 75 pounds over your head. I didn't even say the weight. I didn't say that it was 75 pounds, but I'm just letting y'all know that's what he was pressing. I'm like, you're barely pressing any weight, and you're standing there, you're too busy paying attention to me trying to do these stupid tactics. I said, I'm squatting 250 pounds. I said, why don't you move some real weight? And at that time too, y'all, part of my workout routine was to was to power clean 95 pounds over my back. I think they didn't even think I could do that, because when I first started doing the workout, before I got, now I'm going off on a tangent, but I'm just trying to let you know how strong I am. Part of my routine was doing Bulgarian split squats with the 45-pound barbell, the free weight. And what I would do was I would put weight on it to equate to 95 pounds. And I would power clean it over my head. I wasn't taking it off of a rack or anything of that nature. I would power clean it over my head and do the Bulgarians. Excuse me, I'm hearing noise campaign in the background, y'all. So I remember when I first started doing the workout and I first picked up the 45-pound barbell, this guy hopped like he was going to help me, right? He was being friendly. He hopped like he was going to help me, like he thought I couldn't handle the 45 pounds over my back. And then I proceeded to put weight on and power clean 95 over my back. So I don't think they thought I could do that. So that's part of the problem too, I think, is like emasculation with some of these guys, where this bullying tactic was done with this one guy. And then it's by this strong female that seems powerful. And so I think there's some sort of level of wanting to tear me down because they feel like I emasculated him. And this friend that was doing the laugh thing with the girlfriend, right? So I'm just trying to tell you the initial interaction I had with him and why he was so pressed. This friend that came in and was acting like he was laughing with the girlfriend. So anyway, back to the night when I had the first interaction with him. So he's pressing 75 pounds and he's a big man. He's not big, actually. He looked like he was about my height. He's not a big man. But he had some sort of muscularity. It's not like some of these guys that come in there that, you could tell it's like a gang stalker from off the street that doesn't really go to the gym. He looked like he pressed a little bit of weight. His arms looked like it had some sort of muscularity to it. So I'm like, you're so busy on top of me trying to do these petty tactics, and you're barely pressing any weight. This is not exactly verbatim what I said, but this is the gist of what I thought in my head, right? I'm like, you're barely pushing any weight. I'm here squatting 250 pounds. I said, why don't you push some real weight? And so then I proceeded to put more weight on the barbell. And I think I squatted 260 that night or something like that. He got so mad when I started squatting to 260. He put the barbell that he was using down and he walked in the gym and started blocking me. He walked in the mirror and started blocking me while I'm squatting to 260. And I said, now you're blocking me? I didn't say this out my mouth, y'all. Again, remember the reading, they can hear my thoughts in real time with the neuromonitoring. I thought this in my head. I said, so now you're going to block my workout? I said, why don't you just get your weight up? I said, push more weight. And so I remembered him glaring at me and looking like he got real worked up, and then he walked fast back over to the barbell. Then shortly after that, when I lost the correction officer job, I remember there was a night I was going to do security, and I stopped at the gas station. He pulls up at the gas station. So he was having a complex. So anyway, nonetheless, now fast forward to what happened with the girlfriend and him. So I was doing the snickering thing whenever the girlfriend would come in after she insinuated that I needed to leave the gym. So anyway, he comes in. I guess he saw me on the camera and was triggered. He already had the problem with me. He felt like I emasculated him or whatever he felt. He comes and acts like he's hanging off of her, and they both act like they're cracking up. It was forced and fake, and I could tell. Obviously, it was common sense, but still the cameras are on me, and I'm dealing with bullying by all these people. And so even if I am this strong female, this headstrong female and physically strong female, I'm still human. And the cameras are on me. It looks like you're hanging off and cracking up, and they've already been doing all these bullying tactics on top of me. I did have a moment where I got basity. I did. My face got this basity look. Oh my God, it turned into the joke. They tried to use this, and to this day, they're still trying to use the joke. Right? So it's like this inside thing where they're using this term called the joke, like I became the joke. Because of that one moment with the girlfriend, when I was the one snickering first at the weird stuff that they were doing. So anyway, y'all, they tried to, after that, enact the joke, right? And that became a thing a little bit, but it kind of died down a little bit. But they still use it, like try to throw subs about the joke, right? With the technology and stuff. And act like they're doing this laughing thing. But it's, like I said, the thing kind of died down when I stopped acting bothered about it. But it was still this thing they tried to do. So anyway, after that moment happened with the girlfriend, though, she stopped coming. So I stopped seeing her. And I was able to work out in peace. I stopped seeing her and the man. I hadn't seen them in months, right? I guess they felt like they were satisfied that I had a moment where I looked embarrassed after the Angie Stone thing that happened with him, right? So anyway, I hadn't seen him in months. And then something happened. I don't remember what it was that made him start coming around again. Something happened that made him start coming around again. I can't even remember what it was. Y'all, I have the documentation. If you check out my videos from the moment when the thing first happened at the end of 2024 to now, you'll hear everything that took place. I documented, and I have been documenting everything. I don't even remember what made the man start coming around again, but he did start coming around again. Anyway, so it's just been like since then, though, you would think that would have been the end of it, where they had that moment where I looked like I was affected by them laughing. You would have thought that would be enough. It wasn't. Because I think they knew that moment wasn't what they tried to make it be. They know what took place. So anyway, it was never enough. They still kept bringing the goons around to bully me and be on top of me, doing the torture tactics and just a bunch of horrible stuff they kept doing in that gym. And I kept contemplating, I really should leave. It was more so this headstrong. It was the principle why I didn't want to leave, Because I'm like, I shouldn't have to leave my gym because of some petty thing with a man that I don't care about. I'm not coming to this gym for him. That's not what I got the membership for. I'm not going to stop coming to the gym because this man's feelings got hurt over something he started. And now his goons are on top of me and I can't get a break. So it was the principle. Even though things were horrible in that gym and they were all doing stuff, it was more so like the principle of it. The GP, the general principle. I just felt like I shouldn't have to leave. It was like the headstrong in me, because I could have easily from a long time ago got a new membership. But I kept forcing myself to go just because I'm one of those headstrong people. And when I know I'm right about something, I'm right. And if I feel like I'm wrong about something, then I'm humble and my tail is between my legs. So despite all the weird stuff they were doing in that gym and like they couldn't get over whatever happened with him, I still kept forcing myself to go and do my workouts and ignoring all the tactics they were using and that they started using on me. What made me get a new gym membership was when they did the tactic where I couldn't work out. That was when I was like, okay, fuck this. You could do all the other stupid tactics. I don't care. And I was adamantly trying to show that I don't care and I'm going to still work out. And I have every right to be here. I'm not here for this man. But when the tactic was used where I actually couldn't work out, where it seemed like they closed down the gym early on purpose, I was like, screw it. That had already been a pet peeve of mine with that gym. Like, there were things about that gym that I like outside of the targeting, right? And the situation with this man that I don't give a fuck about, right? There were things about the gym itself that I liked. And the location, just the comfortability. I had gotten comfortable with the area and I had gotten used to going there. But there were like two things that I had a problem with. And one of the main things was the fact that it wasn't a 24-hour gym. I was, from being in the States, living in the States for a while, I was used to 24-hour fitness gyms where I could use my pass and get in anytime. That was one of the main issues I had with that gym. And he closed on the holidays and, I want to work out. When I want to work out. So that was one of the main issues I had with that gym. But it wasn't ever anything that made me leave. But that compiled with the crazy shit I was dealing with, then it's like they didn't plan to stop. And then it's like this thing happens where it feels like the gym was closed down. It wasn't like just, okay, it's a holiday. The gym is closed. Damn, it's another day where I want to work out and I can. It's not a 24-hour gym. It was that the gym was open that morning. It was the day after a holiday. So it wasn't a holiday. It was the day after one. where it had been closed. And then the gym had been open that morning. But when I drove by, I saw some gang stalkers that they like to use on me in there. And some of the people I like to call quote unquote goons, the man's goons or friends, whatever, that they were using on me. I saw vehicles out there that belonged to them. And so I remember casing and realizing, okay, I don't want to go in there while they're in there. Let me leave and come out. I started doing that after a while. Things got so bad in there that certain cars I would know belonged to certain people, I would drive and leave and come back when the person was gone. Like, that's where it got to for me at a certain point. So anyway, I saw that certain people were in that I didn't want to deal with. So I remembered I left and I said I would come back. I went and I took a big long drive, whatever I did, and I came back. When I came back, the gym was locked down. Everything closed, shut down. I was like, wait a minute, they closed the gym? And I know they're seeing me on camera. I know they knew that I was leaving because this person was in there. Whoever it was, the gang stalker, I can't even remember. There were so many of them at a certain point in that gym. I'm like, they're actually closing the gym? That's where I was like, that day was where I was like, okay, now I got to get a new membership. It's like, it's not only that I'm dealing with this situation that they will not let go of over a man that I do not care about. But now it's to the point where they actually like use the tactic where it feels like they closed down the gym and I couldn't work out. And I've already kind of low-key had the issue with the fact that this is not a 24-hour gym. That really was a genuine issue I had. Forget the targeting, etc. So that's why I went and I started looking for a 24-hour gym, and that's how I got into the gym I'm at now, where we have a pass card. When they're open, they're open. You go upstairs, you swipe the card. And if they're closed, if it's a holiday or the weekend, and they're closed, you can go through the downstairs and use your code and get in anytime. And so aside from the targeting, that's something that I really, really like about the new gym. I'm used to 24-hour gyms. So anyway, that was what led to me getting the new membership, y'all. It wasn't even all the shit I was dealing with in the old gym, even though I was too through with the situation. It was literally that. The fact that it felt like they actually closed the gym and I couldn't work out. That was the only thing that actually truly led to me taking the initiative to get a new membership. Because I refused to let them chase me out of a gym that I deserve to work out in just as much as anyone else. Over a man that I don't give a shit about, I wasn't in a relationship with, who started with me first. Anyways, y'all, so then the saga continues. You know what ended up happening 4 months ago with his girlfriend, right? This was actually right before I left that gym. This was actually shortly before I left the gym and before they did the tactic where they closed the gym down on me. You know the whole story where I went in and they tried to set up this bullying tactic with his girlfriend that backfired. That's why I have been suffering so bad for the last 4 months. They were trying to do this bullying tactic with an ID and taking my picture. The picture came out good on her phone. I used her phone. They had her sitting in the computer acting like she was, creating new IDs. They were trying to do this new system in the gym. Y'all, let me show you the video. You can check out if you want to hear the whole story because I don't feel like telling it again. I've told it multiple times now. This video, actually, it was at this point now 6 months ago, y'all. That's how long, half a year. That's how long this shit has been happening since the thing with the girlfriend. 6 months ago. This part 1, the sabotaging and gaslighting video. And you see me in the thumbnail in my graduation outfit, right? Because in that video, I'm also talking about sabotage and what happens to targets. And, you can have a degree, you can have a good resume, and your whole life is upside down. It's hard to get a job, etc. when you're targeted. So I was talking about that, but then towards the end of the video, I talk about what happened with the personal trainer's girlfriend. The bullying tactic they tried to set up that didn't go the way they planned. It backfired. God. And I ended up suffering for it. So she, they tried to do this. I'm not going to tell the whole story, y'all. Check out the video. There was this thing they were trying to do with a picture where they're doing this new system in the gym and, they're putting you in the system. Now, they didn't have a computer system for the members. Now they did, right? And they had her working the computer and taking pictures, supposedly taking pictures of people, right? I don't know why I would be hearing noise next door. It's the same nut that's obsessed with the man. You sat on your ass and watched what happened, and you were upset that day too because when I came home, you were slamming stuff down in your truck. So anyways, you have some, like I said, some characters that are attached to me and the targeting that have these unhealthy obsessions with me. And they've taken this personal problem with me. Some of these people I've had no interaction with, other than now me just reacting to the abuse that I'm receiving from them. No interaction. Don't know them from a can of paint. It's creepy when you get in this thing, y'all. Anyway, that could never be me. I don't care if I were somebody on the outside looking in. I would be one of those people that didn't have an issue with the target. I'm telling you, that's my personality. I'm not taking personal issue to somebody that didn't do anything to me. That's weird and crazy. Anyway, so nonetheless, y'all. So the thing with this girlfriend happened where they were trying to set up this bullying tactic where she's supposed to take this picture in her phone of me for the ID, but they were hoping the picture would come out bad. They've seen my Facebook. They know I'm a photogenic person. All of my pictures are unfiltered and natural, and they all look good. They know I'm a photogenic person. So I don't know why they thought just because of this one moment that I had in my bathroom that they would have a replay of that moment. You see that all of my pictures come out good typically. Even recently, y'all, I just look at the gym update. I just took these pictures. You see me there in the thumbnail in the green shirt? Some pictures of my recent progress in the gym. I took some pictures and I posted it on Facebook. I got a lot of reaction. They started punishing me for that too, y'all. I got a lot of views and likes on that video. It was unfiltered pictures in light, not natural light. It was in the room light, in the light in my room. But most of the pictures I have on my Facebook are in natural light. But nonetheless, there was no filter. I simply just took the pictures raw and unfiltered in my room with the light on. So they know that I'm a photogenic person. So I don't know what they were expecting because they saw this one moment. You see, this is what I was talking about though, y'all, with the torture. Because you pick up these random enemies from different places, people you don't really know and you wouldn't have any type of interaction with in real life if you weren't targeted. You pick up enemies with them, like what happened with this man from the gym. Typically, we wouldn't have had any interaction, really, had I not been targeted. Other than, you see me in passing. We're in the same gym, you see me in passing. We wouldn't have really had any interaction like that, had it not been for the targeting. But now it's this big, huge connection to somebody who I actually, if you look at it, don't even really know like that. It's this big, huge thing. You would swear we had a relationship or something. The way they're torturing me and manipulating the situation. Anyway, nonetheless, so the enemy type thing is happening there with that, right? And his friends, who I call goons at this point. So they're watching me angrily because of the situation that happened with him, looking for any moment of weakness or any moment where something bad happens. And they have the upper hand because the people in power that are running the strings have cameras on me. You know how scary that is? Where you haven't committed a crime, but you're targeted and they're holding a grudge on you and they have issues with you and they're literally just looking at you waiting for a bad moment. You know how scary that is? Anyway, so they're watching me waiting for something bad to happen so they could get revenge for this man because they felt like they hadn't gotten it yet. Despite everything that they had been doing to me, they felt like they hadn't gotten it yet. So it was this moment where I got my hair braided. I don't want to tell the whole story again, y'all. I got some cornrows that didn't come out good. The girl was a good braider. She didn't do anything wrong. She braided my hair very well. It wasn't her. It was the size of the braid. She didn't do the size that I wanted. And it didn't look good with me. To me, I felt like it didn't suit me. And I get cornrows all the time. Y'all, I've been doing it for years, and these cornrows did not suit me. So I remember I was in the bathroom, and I was already upset because something they had done, some gang stalking thing they had done when I was on the road. And something I purchased, and they were trying to, whatever was going on, y'all. I don't want to retell the story. If you check out that video I just told you to check out, you'll hear the whole story about what happened with his girlfriend and I. So anyway, I went in the bathroom after coming home, and I was already upset from what they had been doing outside with the gang stalking. And I went in the bathroom to take a picture of myself because I just got my hair done. And I realized the picture didn't come out good. I didn't like how my hair looked. I just felt like it wasn't suiting my face. And so I had this moment where I was just looking upset. It's normal. People go through this all the time where you get your hair done and you don't care for how it looks. That happens all the time. Mind you, that same girl braided my hair before and she did bigger braids and it looked good and I liked the look. That's why I went to her a second time. But this time I wanted her to do smaller braids and I showed her a picture of some braids I had from before and she did it like a size bigger than what I wanted. So that size did not suit my face. So it wasn't her. She can braid well. It wasn't anything to do with her. It was really just the size of the braids and it just not suiting my face. So I took the picture and I didn't like it. And typically that's normal. That's something like that can happen in your everyday life and then you move on. It's not like everyone's staring at you like this, like psychopaths, waiting for a bad moment so they can use it as some sort of way to shoot you or hurt you. But remember, they want to hurt me. They've been saying that for months. They keep even sending it with the technology that they're trying to hurt me. It's been years. They're still trying to hurt me over the situation with this man. And they've recruited white people too, y'all, by the way. I'm going to talk about it. I'm not going to go into the details, y'all, of what they're doing, right? So anyway, I cannot deal with it. Anyway, so nonetheless, y'all, the picture didn't come out good. And so I looked upset. And I was already upset when I came home because what they had been doing when I was out on the road. I don't drink, y'all. I don't party. I don't go out. I don't do anything. My whole life is impeded and I haven't committed a crime. I'm basically a prisoner that's not in jail, if that makes sense. And I've been for 6 years. Actually, I deserve reparations. I feel like I deserve millions for what I've been through. Millions. This is the type of stuff, lawsuits and stuff, wrongful conviction type stuff that you see people make buku money for, where years and years of their life was taken and they were tortured or imprisoned, and you see them get wrongful conviction lawsuits and they get buku money for it. That's the type of shit I deserve. But anyway, so loss of credit, loss of reputation, trauma, PTSD, physical assault with energy weapons. I deserve millions. Anyways, y'all. So nonetheless, I was upset about what I had been dealing with outside. And then I came in and I took this picture and I see that the hair didn't come out the way I wanted. And so I was even more annoyed. I just looked sour and depressed. Oh my God, they ran with the moment. They're staring at me sadistically on the camera. They're already having an issue or a complex and wanting to get revenge for whatever with this man that I don't give a shit about. I'm not even thinking about him. I'm dealing with so many other things that is so irrelevant to me. But you're sitting there living your peaceful life, staring at me, waiting for a moment so that you can attack because you're still bothered about some stupid shit that I don't give a fuck about. So anyways, I get to the gym now and they set up this thing. This was, like I said, before I left the old gym. This was before the day where I was driving around waiting for the gang stalker to leave the gym, and then I noticed they closed the gym down early and I couldn't work out. This was shortly before that happened. This was like maybe 2-3 weeks before that happened. Maybe a month before that happened. So anyways, I noticed another girlfriend sitting. I get into the gym, right? And they have a new entrance now. They changed the whole gym up. They had a new entrance. They were doing a whole new system where it seemed like they were using a key fob, and they were putting it virtual, where they're putting you in the system, all the members, and all your information would be in the system, which I think is smart and efficient. So there's nothing wrong with doing that. It's just a tactic they tried to use while they were doing it. So anyways, so the girlfriend's sitting on the computer, right? As I get in there, and I noticed, I'm like, wait, that's a girl, right? I have only seen her a few times, but I mean, I kind of recognized, I was almost certain that was her. I was like, that's a girl, right? So anyway, I didn't get a face. I didn't have an attitude or anything like that. I was just like, okay, this is interesting. I was like, well, the guy is really close with the owner, so it is possible that she's genuinely just sitting here helping out. That could be the case because she's his girlfriend now. So that could be what's going on right now. I didn't automatically think, tactic or have my hecklers up, but I was just cautious because of what I had been dealing with for a year and change with these people and his friends or goons, as I call them. So anyway, I'm dealing with her. They had this gang stalker dude, this young dude, looked like he's in his early 20s, might even be a teenager. He looked anywhere from 19 to 23, is what I would guess is his age. Started using him as a gang stalker too. I was like, why are they using this young man as a gang stalker? It was just so weird, some of the stuff they were doing. Anyway, had him in there before me. He pulled up same time as me, came out the car same time as me, but he was in front of me. So for him, she took the picture of him, right? She took her phone and she took the picture of him for the ID, and they're having like this fake conversation, generic conversation about taking the picture and it being for the ID that they're creating, etc., etc. Now comes my turn. When it's my turn, she takes her phone and she says, here, you take a picture of yourself. And it's supposed to be for the ID. She's calling me sweetie and sweetheart and all these different pet names, right? Acting like she's, fake nice, whatever. So I was just being nice back. I know already what I dealt with her about insinuating that I needed to leave and whatever else I had dealt with in the past with her. So I kind of realized how she is, right? But I was like, okay, she's being nice here. I don't hold grudges. I don't give a shit about the situation. If you're being nice, I'll be nice back, right? So I said, okay, no problem. I'm just following the things she's telling me to do. So I took her phone and I took a selfie of myself in natural light. And the picture came out good. I guess they were hoping it was going to be a moment like in the bathroom where the picture came out shitty, so they could have some sort of whatever they were looking for. It doesn't matter. Even if I do take a bad picture, I look better than you. So even if a bad picture happens, that doesn't matter. So, and I'm saying that boldly right now as I'm sitting here looking a hot mess, y'all. But when I put myself together, when somebody looks better than you. And when someone doesn't look better than you, I'm a humble person and I'm a real person. If I felt like the girl looked better than me, I would have been honest about it. And I still wouldn't have cared because I don't like him like that. But she does not look better than me, y'all. That's why they keep trying to every minute now come with body and cleanness. That's all they keep trying to come for is body and cleanness. Trying to come for my body because I'm tall and slender. Anyways, y'all, because they know I look better than this girl, So anyways, nonetheless, right? So she's sitting there and I take the picture and she's calling me sweetie. Just fill out right here, sweetie, telling me about the paperwork I need to fill out. And then take the picture on my phone, whatever. So I said, okay, no problem. I said, okay, I'm just being polite, right? I take the picture. I hand her the picture. The girl starts, her eyelashes, she had on like these fake eyelashes. Her eyelashes started to blink really fast. Like I keep calling it a malfunction. And the people that have a problem with me are so angry about the situation, right? But they can clearly see what happened. They all saw what happened that day. It was like a major, I guess you could call it quote unquote win for me back then. This is why I have been going through what I'm going through these last few months, you know. This is what made them start talking about illegally recording the sexual interaction that I had with an ex in 2022 in my apartment. Because of this moment that happened right here. So anyways, she sees the picture. She starts doing this weird thing with her eyelash and pulling her eyelash and blinking her eyelash, right? Doing this weird thing. And she's having this directed convo. I forgot to mention this part, y'all, because I've already talked about it in that video I told y'all to check out. She's having some directed convo with this guy named Chris that they were using as a gang stalker on me in the gym, right? And then they tried to gaslight me recently about talking about what I talked about, who that Chris is supposed to represent. And I went into details about the Chris that he's supposed to represent. It took 4 months for me to do that. If you listen to that initial video I just told you to check out, you can hear me insinuating why I think they used the other Chris. Not even think. They actually confirmed it too with the chirping. Why they used the Chris that they used as a gang stalker, but you could hear me talking about it humbly. Similar to how I was talking about the guy from the gym and his girlfriend in the beginning versus how I talk about it now. After being tortured for things that are out of my control. After about 4 to 5 months of them using this Chris sensitization on me and trying to use it in an antagonizing way, that was when I finally sat there and I went into details about Chris. And then they tried to gaslight me about it and make it seem like I just sat there and randomly attacked him and like they hadn't done what they had done for the last 5 months with Chris. These people are unhinged, you know, I'm telling you. Anyway, so let me continue though. And it's hypocrisy if you've listened to the recent videos where I talked about that person. It's hypocrisy, everything that they're doing. It's not about anything that they're pretending it's about. Even the white people thing. They've used the guys that created the content as gang stalkers on me. This is personal. It's some sort of personal grudge they're holding against me. The cyberstalking and cyberbullying guys' families in the military, a lot of them. A lot of them are in the military. This is personal, what's happening to me. Okay, don't let them fool you and make you feel like it's anything other than that. Anyway, so nonetheless, so she's having this directed convo with this guy named Chris that they were using as a gang stalker on me in the gym. If you've listened to my recent videos, y'all, you'll know the whole rundown with Chris and what they did with him, right? And how he started out as this quote-unquote friendly gang stalker that they were using on me in the gym, coming around acting like he's smiling and being friendly. At least he wasn't being as brutal or as harsh as some of the other gang stalkers in there, but that's because he wasn't directly friends with this man. The guys that were friends with this man are the ones that were being very harsh. Like, this is why I was calling them goons with the tactics they were using. They were harshly trying to bully me as some sort of knockback for their friend. Anyway, he was one of the gang stalkers that was actually being more friendly, right? He's just coming around and you can tell he's just been hired on. It's not like this personal thing with him. It wasn't, at first at least. So then, I don't want to tell the whole story, y'all. This is what's ended up happening. I'm telling the story about things I've talked about before. I'm not meaning to. I just feel like when these tactics happen, like what they did yesterday, when I was in the car, y'all, that was when I feel like I have to talk about the whole thing that's happened with this man again. Because you have people that are subjective, that are purposefully pushing manipulative false narratives about the situation. And they're continuing to torture me day in and day out about it. And this is almost 2 years later, y'all. That's why I'm sitting here telling the story again. Because they're still torturing me about it. Anyway, so, let me just quickly, I don't really want to talk about the Chris guy like that. I really don't. I just recently went into detail about the Chris thing. What video was that where I went into detail about that? I think it was the part 2 more details on the recent targeting. It was either that video or it was the part 2 manipulative tactics used on targets. I can't remember which, or no. No, actually, y'all, I think it was the last video I posted. The targeted individual workplace bullying video. I can't remember. It was one of those last 3 videos. No, y'all, it wasn't the English teacher video. And it wasn't the workout video. So it was either the last video I posted or the 2 videos before that, before the English teacher video, before the workout update, and before my poem Equinox. So it was either the part 2 manipulative tactics video, where you see the girl looking like a puppet with strings, the part 2 more details video that says diary of an angry targeted individual, or the last video I posted, targeted individual workplace bullying. It was one of those 3 videos where I went into detail about the Chris thing, y'all. And then now they've recently been gang stalking me and gaslighting me about it. Like I just sat there and randomly attacked Chris. And it wasn't what they were doing for 4 months with the Chris thing. So anyways, y'all. So they even had that Chris guy that was on the phone with her, the girlfriend, when they were doing whatever tactic they were trying to do with the picture thing. Before he had that phone call with her, they had used him as a gang stalker on me in the gym, and he was coming around acting like he's being friendly. You know, it seemed like a breath of fresh air compared to some of the goons, I would call them, that were being put on top of me, his friends who had personal issues with me in that gym, right? So anyway, there's this day where they had him in the gym, the Chris guy, and then this guy that I talked to years ago, y'all. I'm talking years ago in my early 20s. These people are pulling out bitter ass dudes that I talked to from over a decade ago. I'm 34 now, y'all. When I talked to this dude, I was 20 or 21. This dude that they were using this day in the gym with Chris, when things went bad with Chris. So anyway, he's like a sax player or something like that here on Island. And, you know, he seemed like a decent catch back then. So that was why I gave him a chance. But he was younger than me. He was 3 years younger than me. And so what happened is in high school, apparently he had a crush on me and I didn't know. And my friends had a crush on him. And so they were telling me that he liked me. They said, oh my gosh, you won't believe who likes you. Going ham about it. I guess because he plays saxophone, he's tall, he's attractive, whatever, right? So they were telling me, you don't want to talk to him today. I said, no, he's way too young. Because I was in 12th grade and he was in 9th grade. So he was 3 years younger than me. That's to tell you I don't like young. So I remember that being a big issue for me. I was like, there's no way I'm ever talking to somebody that's 3 years younger than me. Back then, that was just like unheard of. So I was like, hell no. You know, I didn't care what he looked like or what he had going on. So then now years later, when I'm in college, after I broke up with the ex that ended up, you know, years later coming back and leading me on, whatever he did. After I broke up with him, me and this guy started talking, just like on a friend level. He was texting me. He wrote me via Facebook. I knew who he was. I knew he had a crush on me from back in the day. And we exchanged numbers. I actually did talk to him. He was older now. I felt more comfortable with talking to him, but I was still having an issue with it. He was, I believe, 18 at the time, and I was 21 when this took place, right? So I remember it still feeling weird to me. And he was very immature. You know, it was like my worst fear confirmed. Like I already felt like an issue with the fact that you're 3 years younger than me and I'm away in college and you're just getting out of high school. But then now we're having conversations and the age gap is evident. Like he was acting immature and he was very, I don't mean to say this because they like to paint it like I'm this cocky narcissistic bitch or whatever. And this is partially why they use it as an excuse to keep tearing me down. I'm just telling you straight up the facts of what took place. I'm telling you what happened. He was acting too clingy. He kept calling every minute. And I'm telling him like, okay, hey, I'm at the fair with my family. I was at the fair with my niece at the time and my sister and my brother-in-law. And her aunt was in town and we're at the fair and stuff. And he kept calling. I said, I'm going to call you back when I leave the fair. He kept calling. I remember showing my older sister, Makita. I said, look, he's calling again. Not in this way like I'm laughing at him or being a bitch, but I just could not believe I just told you I'm going to call you back when I leave the fair. You're calling again. Or he's sending me text. And I understand that. Sounds like I'm being a bitch. There's nothing wrong with texting back and forth while you're out and stuff. I do that all the time. But if I'm telling you I'm out with my niece now and hey, I'm gonna hit you back when I leave the fair, don't keep calling me trying to see if I left yet. Like I'm gonna call you when I leave. So I remember it was just stuff like that. He kept saying baby and like stuff that was just irking me back then. I'm just being honest. I had just got out of a relationship where I felt locked in and like, you know, whatever I felt locked down, whatever I was feeling with the ex, where he moved in quick into my apartment. He had his own apartment. He was older than me. The ex that I don't want to go into details about these people, y'all. I'm going off on a tangent. But just know I had just gotten out of a relationship where I was feeling like locked down and I was only 18, right? So now here it is 2 years later, or 3 years later, I'm kind of trying to be free, but also still open to dating and seeing if I can date somebody and feel comfortable enough to be in a relationship that doesn't feel too restricted at that age. And you and I are texting and you're already showing me signs that you're like a clingy person. And And then also, too, you just seem kind of immature because he was a nice guy. He really was. And he was cool. He played the saxophone. I thought he was a cool person. Obviously, that's why I was open to talking to him. And he was attractive. But it's just like you're kind of immature. And then it's like you're showing me signs of being clingy. And I just got out of a situation where I was feeling locked in. So that's where I think I ghosted him. The more I think about it, the more I realize I think I ghosted him. Because that's what I used to do a lot back then. When I was younger, if it was somebody I wasn't really in a relationship with, I would never ghost someone I was in a relationship with. But if I'm just talking to you and it's like there's some brief kind of, and I don't know how to say, hey, I'm not feeling this anymore. I used to do that a lot. Like, just block the number. I believe that's what I did to him. So anyway, we were not together. He was just like I said, this guy I was talking to, and it's just like it felt like immature, and I didn't know how to say, hey, you know what, I'm not really feeling it anymore. So that was immaturity on my part, for sure. But anyway, I blocked him. Years later now, he reaches out again. I don't want to talk about this dude. I don't want to go into the details about this guy. But years later, he started talking to me again, right? And we hung out, and I realized that he had heard about the situation with the cyberstalking, cyberbullying guy. And I believe he was already holding a grudge on me from what took place between him and I. He was acting weird and strange and saying certain things, and I could tell he had an issue with me. So after that one hangout, I didn't hang out with him again. Then years later again, during the targeting now, y'all, throughout the years, we've been friends on Facebook. He's always interacting with my stuff, whatever, right? But now right before the targeting went viral, when I was teaching back in 2022, those times, right? Right before I tried to relocate off island, he was liking my stuff, reacting to my stories, shooting me messages in the inbox, just like, hey, pretty picture, this, that, whatever, saying stuff in my inbox. I didn't know the man had an issue still. This is years later. We're both grown adults now. You're a whole, from what I saw, professor at Berkeley. I'm like, there's no way you're holding a grudge on me. I'm like, you couldn't still be holding a grudge on me. There's no way. So anyway, I'm answering his messages sometimes, not like reciprocal in a way where I'm like trying to talk to you and we're going to date or anything like that. But sometimes I'll be like, thank you. Hey, okay. That type, like generic answers. I didn't know he had an issue with me still. I had no clue. So now, fast forward to now when I got back on island and the targeting has gone viral and they're using all these gang stalkers and they're hiring all these people, bitter exes or bitter guys I talked to from the past. They're just random dudes that need money. They're hiring them. So this day in the gym when things went bad with Chris, this guy was in there too. So I guess he came down on island to visit or whatever. And I guess he decided to hop on board. And by the way, if y'all hear his name, y'all, again, another one of those things where it's like you would not believe the level of synchronicity. If you heard the name of this dude, what his name is, it's a name that they've been using on me a lot in the targeting. You would not believe what this man's name is. And it's the same name of the white student that I had too, right before I tried to relocate off island. The white student that I told y'all I did good by, who was very smart, but he used to not do his work. In a lot of his classes, he didn't do his work. And I gave him an opportunity and allowed him to pass my class because I saw he knew the material and that he was smart. But anyway, you wouldn't believe his name too. Like, it's just like, is this the Matrix? If you heard his name and then the name of this guy I'm talking about, right? Anyway, nonetheless, right? So the guy is in there, and that guy. And I didn't even notice that guy in there just yet. I hadn't even really noticed that he was in there. They used him on me for a couple days. I kept pretending like I didn't see him. I purposely, when I realized what type of time he was on, I kept purposely pretending like I didn't know who he was. I purposely did it. But anyway, so he was in there, and I didn't even notice he was in there. I more so noticed the Chris guy because I went to the back room to do, again, my adductors. They love coming on top of me when I'm doing this freaking uncomfortable workout. I'm doing the adductors, and the Chris guy comes back there, and he smiles at me. And I know it's gang stalking, obviously. Right? We had already talked about somebody in my close circle, and I had a conversation in 2023 where we were talking about guys that we talked to in the past or guys we had crushes on. And this Chris's name came up. And the person in my close circle was just talking about this embarrassing thing that happened when they were children in elementary school, where she had like a crush on him, and this girl that was kind of dating him found out about it, and they were kind of like teasing her about it at a party with him. And so she was talking about that on the bed. We were just shooting the shit, talking about all these different experiences that we had with different guys. You know, you do that with like a family member sometimes, but it was televised and everybody was watching. And a lot of these guys that got talked about on the bed got recruited in the targeting. But specifically with this guy, it's deeper than just that little small brief thing she said about him. It's also a knockback for another guy with that name that's associated with that family member, why they used him. Anyway, so you heard him chirping the bird? And then they gaslight me about telling the whole story about that guy and how hypocritical it is for you to sensationalize that character and use it as in an antagonizing way. Anyway, whatever, right? These people are crazy, Anyway, so nonetheless, so he comes back there to the back room and he smiles at me and he goes on that same ab machine I was telling y'all about a little while ago when the personal trainer was working out on top of me with his girlfriend and I was doing the abductors and I told you he squeezed in between the two machines. That same machine, the Chris guy hopped on while I'm doing the abductors and he smiled at me. And so I remember just feeling annoyed. I'm like, I just don't feel like dealing with this today. Like, I want to be back here. I'd want to open my legs comfortably and do this workout without a gang stalker being on top of me. I just didn't feel like dealing with it. So it's just like I didn't roll my eyes at him. I didn't say anything disrespectful. I remember just feeling exasperated and just getting up and leaving the back room and going outside to do my leg extensions. I could see if I thought some disrespectful, because back then I was thinking all kinds of disrespectful stuff, y'all. I was very disrespectful back then because of the tactics they were using on me and antagonizing me for something that I hadn't started. I was not rude to this dude. I didn't think anything disrespectful about him. I just simply got up and said, I don't feel like dealing with this today. I didn't think that, but I felt that way. And I just went out to do my leg extensions. I see shortly after he comes out and he goes on like the cable machine that was to the right of me. And he starts working out on the cable machine. And so I'm just doing my leg extensions and I'm just going to ignore him, whatever. I look up and that's where I saw the dude that plays the saxophone from my past. And he's there staring at me and guzzling water aggressively. Like guzzling, kind of like what the goons that are friends with the man was doing. Guzzling the water aggressively and staring at me. And I said, wait a minute, they recruited this guy? I said, are you kidding me? I remember feeling that way. I didn't think that. At the time when it happened again, I purposely acted like I didn't know who he was. It wasn't until just recently that I acknowledged that I actually saw that whole thing, When the thing happened, I never acknowledged it. I purposely pretended like I didn't know who he was. But just recently, I acknowledged when I was talking about the Chris thing, and I was trying to talk about why I did the rebuke. That was when I talked about him and that I actually knew who he was. For a good few months, a good almost year, that thing had happened, and I purposely pretended like I didn't know who he was, and I didn't acknowledge him. Anyway, so when I saw that it was another bitter dude from the past that they had recruited, and he was being a bully, that was when I started rebuking it. I said, I don't feel like this today. I said, now they recruited this guy. I was like, okay, I rebuke this. In my head, I started rebuking it. It's like the Chris guy got offended and thought the rebuke was for him. So I remember him kind of like freezing and looking like he felt bad or something. And then he left the gym. I'm like, yeah, it really was just for the gang stalking in general. This feels like some sort of satanic attack, but it was more so for this dude than it was for you. Although I would like you to leave too and everyone to just leave me alone. This was more so for the malicious activity from this dude from the past. So anyway, all of a sudden now I come home. The neighbors happen to be on island at this time. They haven't been there in years. Like they come back and forth. They own the house. The lady in that house was best friends with my grandmother. So out of everybody on the street, I would say the people in that house are the people that we know the most. Like everyone else I knew, like kind of like I might have seen the face. And some of them didn't even used to see their faces because they used to be in the house and they didn't know who I was back then. Like, they know that's Miss Nurse's grandchildren, but you're not really studying us like that. I didn't really start learning characters on this street until I became a target and started dealing with some of the things I started dealing with. But anyway, so that lady was my grandma's best friend. She's been off island, and they have been off island for years. They come and visit. They don't be here. Of all times, this is how my luck works. They happen to be on island renovating the house. And so this was the perfect opportunity for him to go there and gang stalk because he happens to be good friends with their grandson. So as soon as I get home, y'all, from rebuking the other dude, I see the Chris guy coming out the gate. Like I had seen a garbage. They already had that set up. They were already renovating the house and taking old tiles out and throwing it in the garbage that was set up outside of the gate. I see the Chris dude coming through the gate and he throws something in the garbage. I'm like, wait a minute, they're going to use him here now? And for 2 weeks, they had him there. Like, he would come from morning time and be there for hours. And I know I'm being stared at. So imagine trying to be comfortable in your room. And you're being stared at. And somebody is right next door gang stalking on top of you. I've dealt with it already with these people. But now you're dealing with someone specific that's coming to the neighborhood to gang stalk. And doing noise campaigns on you. And he'd be slamming stuff in the garbage when horrible, mean things would play on the screen. They're constantly sending bullying stuff with the technology. And trying to humiliate me on camera. He purposely slamming stuff in the garbage every time they're playing humiliating things on the screen. I'm like, I don't even know you. Why are you doing this? Because I was rebuking gang stalking? And it wasn't even specifically for you, although it was in a way because I'm rebuking all of it. This is some sort of satanic attack. It was more so specifically for that dude from my past. They tried to take that moment where he for 2 weeks was there gang stalking and slamming shit in the garbage for bullying stuff. And they tried to sensationalize it and use it as in an antagonizing way. And sending stuff about being rejected. I said, rejected? He was a gang stalker that you hired. How was that rejection? And the reason you hired him, he's significantly younger than me. My younger sister is 4 years and change younger than me. This man is her age. You hired him because she talked about whatever that happened in the past with her and him, something brief from childhood. And you also hired him as some sort of retribution for the other Chris because of conversations that took place a few years ago about that Chris that I didn't start, that was said on camera. You hired him for that reason. And are you going to talk about rejection? He was hired. How is that rejection? It's like they're delusional. They want to paint this false manipulative narrative of rejection because they don't like what happened with that man from the gym. They're angry about what happened with the man from the gym, so they're trying desperately to push this false narrative of me being this thirsty, vapid female that's rejected and hurt and nobody wants, and they're using every tactic in the book to push this false narrative. So they start pushing this false narrative. I'm like, huh? What are you I'm like, what? And they keep sending Chris, trying to utilize and sensationalize him as a character. And really, again, it was a knockback for the other Chris, too, just so you know. So, no, it wasn't until recently, like 5 months later, where I finally talked in detail about the other Chris and that Chris and why they utilized that Chris and why they were trying to do what they were trying to do. Then they, of course, gaslit and painted like I'm being the crazy troublemaker that's just sitting on video talking about random people again. Like you didn't do what you did with that Chris for the reason that you did it for. This is what they do. So anyways, so nonetheless, y'all, so she's on the phone, back to the girlfriend though, because I went off on a whole tangent, but all of this is necessary, y'all, because it's going to tie into what they tried to do yesterday with the crazy shit. Still trying to humiliate me and push this false narrative and antagonize and harass me. Even though I'm in a whole new gym now, y'all. So anyways, so she's on the phone, the girlfriend, right? Back to the scene with the girlfriend in the old gym before I left the old gym, where they're trying to do this bullying tactic because they saw me in the bathroom a few weeks prior having this bad moment where I took a picture that didn't look good because I had some braids that didn't suit me. So they tried to set up this bullying thing with the girlfriend and hoping the picture comes out bad and that it's going to be this big, I guess, victorious moment for them. Pun intended, God don't like ugly. Pun intended, God don't like ugly. You were trying to do something ugly and it backfired. So anyways, so nonetheless, I took the picture and the picture came out good. I just took a natural picture in her phone with natural light and I handed it to her. And I saw her eyelashes start blinking and she started pulling and plucking at her eyelashes. And this is what I was telling you. She was on the phone talking to the Chris guy. You know, because after that moment with him happened where he was there for 2 weeks gang stalking and slamming shit in the garbage for humiliating things that was playing on my screen, they kept trying to paint this false narrative of what happened with the Chris guy and sending the name Chris every 5 seconds. So anyway, a part of the bullying thing they were trying to do in this moment in the gym, they purposely, when I went into the gym, had her on the phone having a conversation with Chris. I forgot to mention that at the beginning when I first started talking about it. So when I first saw her, I didn't immediately think gang stalking, but it wasn't until we started interacting and she's telling me about filling out the paperwork and taking a picture, and she's having this conversation with Chris, that I realized what they were trying to do. So anyway, I just played along and I still kept being polite with her and stuff, and I wasn't being nasty. I didn't say anything disrespectful. I just said, you know what, let me just get through this moment here. They're still having the complex. I'm going to get in there and work out is what my mindset was. So anyway, I took the picture. She was calling me sweetie, all kinds of stuff. Okay, sweetie, just fill out the thing right here and whatever she's saying, right? So I filled the thing out. I took the picture and I give her the phone. She starts blinking and doing all this weird stuff for her eyelashes and plucking at her eyelashes, and she had like fake eyelashes on. And then she starts saying, I don't like it, Chris. It's ugly, Chris. It's weird, Chris. No, the direct-to-convo was not like that before she saw the picture. before she saw the picture, she was having this like calm conversation with him, and I know it would seem like I have 2 jobs. Remember, back then I was struggling with jobs. Even now things are still unstable. But back then I was really dealing with instability and fluctuation, insecurity, hours, etc., unemployment, etc. So she's like, I know it would seem like I have 2 jobs, Chris, but no, I'm just here helping. I'm helping out at my local gym. Stupid direct combo, whatever she was saying, right? So after I take the picture and I give her the picture and the picture came out good and she sees and her eye starts blinking and whatever and she starts plucking at her eyelashes and stuff, then she starts to just harshly say, I don't like it, Chris. It's ugly, Chris. It's weird, Chris. It's weird. That's what she started saying and like blinking real fast and stuff. So I said, really, sweetie? I didn't say this out loud. Of course not. But I know she can hear my thoughts in real time with the neural monitoring. I didn't even insult her then. I still did not insult the girl. All I thought in my head was, really, sweetie? I know you see how that picture looks. That's all I thought in my head. And then I went in the mirror and I started squatting and acting cocky. This kind of like cocky way that I start moving when they start doing the shit that they do. I didn't say anything about the girl. I didn't diss her and say, are you crazy? I look way better than you. Nothing like that, you know. I just said, really, sweetie? I know you see how that picture looks. And I just went and I started squatting and like looking cocky in the mirror. That's it. Then I'm leaving. And when I'm leaving, I just simply asked her, you said that I'm going to be notified when it's time to pay again, right? You said the system's going to be up. I was just asking her about the app and the development of the app and when I can expect to get a notification. And so she starts trying to explain it to me. Excuse me. And she's doing the weird blinking thing again. And like she can't keep her eyes open and she starts plucking at her eyelash again. And it's like what I've been describing it as a malfunction. It seemed like she was having some sort of malfunction. So anyway, that happened and I left. And they were angry about that moment. After that, it was really, you thought it was up before. It's been a nonstop attack on my self-esteem. And trying to perpetuate me as this unwanted, vapid, thirsty female. When you know full well, whether it was gang stalking or not, you know full well the man gave me his number and asked me to go on a hike and I never used his number. You know he added me on Facebook and I didn't add him back. I actually didn't even realize he added me. I have so many freaking friend requests. I actually didn't even realize, it was an accident. Me discovering that this man was following me on Facebook. I didn't even know he added me on Facebook. I had no clue he was sitting there in the followers. I had no clue. But they're trying to paint it like I'm this thirsty, vapid female. And if you listen to the video you just listened to before this part here that I'm adding on, you will have heard what happened with the guy that I genuinely thought was attractive from back in the day, that I was talking to briefly on the pool game. The guy that they, that I talked about, that I was daydreaming about, and then they played me on the pool game with his name. If I were truly a thirsty female, when he wrote me first and started playing me on the pool game, don't you think I would have been shooting my shot there if I were that type of female? This dude is extremely good looking, a pretty boy. And I'm not even vain. I don't care about that stuff. I'm just telling you. Like a real pretty boy. Don't you think in that moment where it seemed like he was interested and he was writing me messages and playing me on a pool game, don't you think I would have shot my shot then if I were that type of female? They know it's bullshit. They're actually just torturing me relentlessly and ruthlessly because they don't like how things went down with me and this man, and I. And whatever mean stuff I thought in reaction to what he was doing to me randomly for a whole month that humiliated him, they want me to feel that level of humiliation over and over and over and over and over. You hear them chirping the birds? That's what it's about. So anyways, I'm still getting tortured relentlessly. Like, I'm talking even physically assaulted. They're even beaming me with energy weapons at times. It's that serious. So yesterday I'm on the road, like I told y'all, right? And I don't know if I mentioned this in the video or not, that I went to the gym and they had this guy with a mask on, right? I think I started talking about that in the other video. There was another video I started making, so I don't think I talked about it in this video. So they've just been doing these humiliating tactics to try to humiliate me and hurt me, right? So I remember in the gym now, something new that they're doing in my new gym is on my arm day. They just started doing this tactic within the last week. They just started doing this. And they're doing this because of the activity on my Facebook. I put up some stories that got a lot of views and a lot of likes. And since then, they've started doing like more aggressive tactics in my new gym, where they're putting the guys on top of me and trying to push the thirsty narrative again, trying to do that narrative and that tactic again all of a sudden. It's obvious why you're doing it. They're putting a man with a mask in the gym on top of me and making him grab the barbell that they know I'm supposed to use for my bicep curls, specifically the 30-pound barbell. All of a sudden, I was getting friend requests, regular friend requests for months on end, for years at this point now. All of a sudden, that thing with my story happened where I got a lot of views and likes or whatever happened. All of a sudden, in between, I'm seeing all these gang stalking friend requests. Like, they're trying to manipulate and be a part of everything. So anyways, y'all, so it's this new tactic just recently they started using, aside from putting these dudes on top of me again and making it seem like they're guzzling water and whatever else they're trying to do. This older guy, they're putting him there and they're making him wear a mask on purpose, you know, again, trying to comfort my self-esteem. And it's not like you're just putting him there to antagonize me, but you're actually impeding my workout. Like, they're making him grab the barbell that they know that I'm going to use for my bicep curls. And I just went up in weight too, y'all. I went up from 20 pounds to 30 pounds. Conveniently, now this man with the mask is inserted and he's grabbing the 30-pound barbell. But it's all relative too, because it's all around the time when they started, like I said, they've been doing stuff in the new gym. Y'all know I've documented everything. I even got an injury due to gang stalking. But specifically putting these dudes on top of me aggressively recently and making them guzzle water and stuff during my workout. This is recent because of the videos I put up on Facebook that got like views and likes and stuff. So anyways, whatever the case is, y'all, yesterday they were at it again trying to humiliate me. And remember, the whole island is watching 24/7. And you have some people who are subjectively against me. I'm telling you, I'd be going around the place, right? And on days where they think things are going bad, some of the people that are subjective that have a problem with me, I see them at the edge of the seat staring in their phone with a look of delight on their face. I'm like, oh my God, I just can't, like, I just want to get away from it. It makes my skin crawl. They're staring in their phone with delight. But then have the nerve to rev by for I don't care. Yes, you do. Because I started making this video like 2 days ago, y'all, right? So when I went to the gym, I was listening to an interview. And in the interview, they said, we don't care what you were in the past or what you had going on in the past. We don't care. They've said that before, by the way, y'all. And I've heard noise campaign in the background. So they said that in the interview that I was listening to while I'm going into the gym. I was about to switch to my music, of course. But I was listening to this interview first before I switched to my music. So they said that it was Shadow Network. I hear somebody beep the horn when they said that. So in my head, I'm like, you don't care. But all these tactics are being used on me, which shows you do care. That's the whole reason I'm making the video. So you're gaslighting and manipulating because I'm not sitting here telling my business for fun. You know, the whole reason that I'm telling, it's almost like this paradoxical thing. I'm telling my business in order to get privacy, but in my efforts to get privacy, I'm telling my business. But you're invading my privacy and you're painting all these manipulative false narratives. You're torturing me. You're antagonizing me. So I'm making these videos to defend myself. And then you're gaslighting me about the videos I'm making. And then you're going to lie and say you don't care. But you're listening. How did you hear what the interview person said if you don't care? Why are you listening to what's going on with me? You could easily turn shit off and not listen and not tune in. Why are you tuning in if you don't care? Is there something mentally wrong with you? Is it some sort of mental incapacitation? Because for me, if it's something that I don't care for or I don't like, I'm not tuning in. If it's a TV show I don't like, I take it off. Actually, I wish you would do that. I feel like if I talk and I talk and I talk and I talk, I'll annoy them enough that they'll turn off the shit and give me my life back. No, what it's doing is having the adverse effect. They love it. They thrive on it. It's like a telenovela. They're watching on the edge of their seat with popcorn. But then you're going to gaslight and pretend we don't care. You do care. Oh, yes, you do. Yes, you do, baby. You do care. Very much. So anyways, this crazy shit I can't deal with. It's just like similar to them using the Chris thing and then gaslighting me about talking about it. It's just like all these different like crazy things with these people. So anyways, y'all, after after I go in the gym yesterday, I noticed they're using the masked bandit. This is what I'm calling him, right? They're using him again, and he's using the 30-pound barbell that he knew I was about to do bicep curls with. So I purposely left the gym. I said, you know, I'm not going to flip out today. And when I say flip out, I never flip out where I'm hitting them or hurting anybody. They're never going to get that reaction out of me. Some targets do eventually lose it to that point. That's never going to be me. That will never be me. I'm covered in the blood of Jesus, baby. But what will happen is sometimes I have these reactions where I think horrible things, and it's like they thrive on these angry, wrathful responses. Which is why I say the whole thing, it has to be satanic, because how are you thriving off of a wrathful, sinful response and you're getting some sort of sadistic kick out of it? Let me show y'all the definition of sadism. I've pulled it up in other videos, y'all. Because that's the basis of the program, is sadism. Where people are sadistically watching someone getting tortured and enjoying it. You're sadistic. And then you're painting it like I have psychopathic or sociopathic tendencies, but you're exhibiting those tendencies. Sadistic describes finding pleasure, enjoyment, or gratification in inflicting physical or mental pain, humiliation, or suffering on others. Sadism. That's what this is. And I'm seeing multiple people getting involved that look like they're getting pleasure off of watching somebody suffer, and you're not realizing something's wrong with you. Anyways, moving on, y'all. So I left the gym. I said I'm not going to give them the reaction today, the angry reaction they're looking for. I said, let me just leave and go take a drive, and I'll come back when the masked bandit is gone. So when I took a drive, I'm driving, you know, I'm irritated and feeling exasperated and like, oh, another day of this bullshit. You know, like I keep buying lottery tickets, praying for some way out. But, you know, it's just like that's a dead end typically. I went into the store looking for a thermal shirt for my night job. Y'all know I do security, and you know, they have all these new regulations. We're not allowed to wear a sweater anymore. We have to wear an undershirt, a thermal shirt, and just different stuff, man. It's just something new every day with this thing here now. We have a new not supervisor, general manager over us. The old one retired. And so it's like all these new things are being thrown at us, and so now I can't even wear my sweater at work. And so I was looking for a thermal shirt to put underneath my shirt. I'm already dealing with enough, and it's like, I gotta deal with this now. But anyway, so I was looking for like a thermal shirt to put underneath my security shirt, right? I'm in the store. I notice a woman and her child is in the store. They come in, they pull up same time as me. I immediately thought, I wonder if this is gang stalking. I'm like, let me just ignore it. Right? So I go over into this corner, the very back of the store, into the little back corner of the store looking for a thermal shirt. She wandering back there with her child. I was like, oh, this is definitely gang stalking. So I remember I went to the counter to pay for some Lysol. I couldn't find the thermal shirt, but I grabbed Lysol and I'm paying for it. As soon as I pay for it and I'm leaving out the door, all of a sudden she's walking by with her child. I said, this is gang stalking. So I remember stopping and putting my money in my bag and purposely letting her move ahead with her child. But it's just this antagonizing thing they're doing where they're pushing false narratives also to antagonize me, but they're pretending like that's why they've been doing this for 6 years. There's no way that you're going to punish somebody for 6 years for saying innocent things with no malicious intent that didn't physically hurt anybody. If y'all listen to my full story, you'll hear the narrative about bearing false witness, and you'll hear the things that I've said, and you'll realize that I've only truly bared false witness once, and there was no malicious intent behind it. What I did was make insinuations, a few insinuations. It does not validate what's been done for 6 years. There's no way you could validate doing this to someone for 6 years. It does not validate it. Anyway, so that's one of the false narratives they like to push, is bringing children around me and doing, you know, weird things like trying to push this false narrative about me being whatever. I mean, it's obvious that you're just trying to antagonize me, because what sane-minded adult is going to bring their child around a known pedophile? Not to use that word in the video. I hate that word. I rebuke it, right? What sane adult is going to do that? If I had a child and I knew that this person was a pedophile, I'm not going to be coming around you, pushing up on top of you with my child, unless there's something wrong with me too, right? So it's antagonization. They're pushing a bunch of false narratives to irritate me and get under my skin and bully me. It's like some sort of retribution, so they claim, for bearing false witness. But you know, I've learned my lesson. The bearing false witness I did was not malicious. There was no malicious intent. It was years ago. I'm not continuing to bear false witness. Why are you really still doing this to me? Then they try to push the white people thing and pretend like that's why you're doing it. But then you're using the guys that created the offensive content that I shared in my car out of anger, reactive abuse. I shared it in my car for 1 month. You're using the guys that have created the content that has been sharing it for years as gang stalkers. Then also you're pushing the child thing, right? Again, as a knockback to me. You don't really think I'm a predator because you would have never brought your child around me. But you're pushing that, but then you're sensationalizing a person, the C guy that I was just talking about, who has a scandalous past. Like, it's just not making sense to me, the level of hypocrisy that I'm dealing with the thing. It's not making sense to me. Why are you really doing it to me? Why are you really doing this? Or is it personal because I hurt that person's feelings? Anyway, and it was a reaction, by the way. And it's not just the man from the gym. I'm talking about the cyberstalking, cyberbullying guy too, now. Anyways, y'all, which that was a reaction too, by the way. But anyway, nonetheless, y'all, so after I leave the gym and, the masked bandit is standing there holding the 30-pound barbell and standing there staring at me in the mirror, rather than flipping out like what I did the last time where I started thinking a bunch of horrible stuff and giving them the wrathful response I think they're seeking, I bit my tongue and I left the gym and I said, let me take a drive. I'm going to come back to the gym after I take a drive. I take a spin. Like I said, I went into the dollar store looking for a thermal shirt to put underneath my night shirt for work. I couldn't find one. They had a low gang stalking in there with the woman and her child. So now I'm driving, headed back to the gym, and I'm just sitting there looking exasperated, like another day of this dumb shit, another day. Looking exasperated. I'm halfway listening to what's playing in my ear. They're constantly sending stuff, trying to do the tactic. Like I said, I've shown y'all how the tactic works, where they'll be roasting like somebody on the screen and subliminally trying to roast you and embarrass you while everybody's watching sadistically, right? The sadistic thing that they do. They do it all the time. I've already knocked the tactic down. They still use it because it still works. It's still humiliating, some of the stuff they send when they're trying to embarrass you. So anyway, I'm sitting there and I'm driving. I'm halfway listening. I hear something about, you big gorilla. He don't like you, you gorilla. He don't like you, you gorilla. And then I hear Ref Campaign on the road. Now, mind you, they had Ref Campaign follow me all day yesterday. They did it big yesterday. They had all kinds of motorcycles on the road, up and down on the road yesterday. Up and down on the road. So as soon as they said that, right, I'm laying there just minding my business. I hear, he don't like you, you big gorilla. And then I hear Ref Campaign. I didn't even respond. I'm so tired of defending myself about the situation and talking about the situation and what took place and the fact that I've left the gym and they're still holding on to this thing and trying to desperately get me to believe that he doesn't like me, when I'm trying to desperately get you to believe that I don't like him and I don't give a fuck about the situation. It's like this desperate campaign. Now look at them doing the ambulance. It's ignorance. It has to be ignorance because I know these people aren't stupid. It has to be ignorance. Not knowing, like lack of knowledge. Like I cannot put it together what else it could be other than ignorance. What else would make me, I just sat there and talked about the whole thing that happened with this man. We never had a relationship or anything. I just sat there and talked about everything that took place with this man and the torture I'm dealing with now for months on end because they're angry about what happened with this man and his girlfriend and him sticking his girlfriend on top of me and all this stuff that they were doing. I have actually removed myself. I'm in a new gym, minding my business. You're still following me around, torturing me and screaming, he don't like you. And guzzling bottles of water. Are you okay? I'm the one that should be screaming, I don't like him. You're guzzling bottles of water when it's evident that I didn't give a fuck. You're putting dudes on top of me. You kept sticking his girlfriend up my butt when it's obvious I didn't give a fuck. Right? And when I say... Y'all, sorry, I had the same person interrupt my video again. But after now I'm trying to start the video again, they start saying something about magic cleaner and the number 3. And are you slow with the magic cleaner? And whatever. It takes 3 things to da-da-da. So again, trying to push, these are things, if you've listened to my story throughout the years, y'all, false narratives about magic because I thought my roommate might have done witchcraft on me and stuff. So again, they're trying to paint it like this thirsty thing, them perpetuating the narrative of me being thirsty is another one of these antagonizing things where they're purposely pushing a false narrative to antagonize me. But no, you really are trying to play me for slow because it's the way that they're doing it. It's the level that they took it to, where they were actually insinuating having recorded me having intercourse with my ex-boyfriend in my apartment, and the coming for my self-esteem. This is a lot deeper than you just trying to push a false narrative. Don't play me for stupid for real. This is deeper than that. You are trying to hurt me for real and tear me down because of what happened with this man. Now you're trying to play me for stupid. Now you are. So anyways, y'all, I'm like screaming at the top of my lungs that I don't like him. And I'm trying to function and move on, and they will not let me move on. It's like every day they're antagonizing me about this same freaking situation with this man that I never dated or had anything with. And it's like they're having this complex where they're trying to like, we don't like you. Okay, you've said that already. If you really feel that way, then why haven't you moved on and left me alone? Why am I still being tortured? Why are you now actually sometimes pulling guys from the old gym and putting them on top of me? Why are you every day trying to tear me down and make me have this warped sense of self? Why are you interfering with my Facebook? Why am I getting beamed with energy weapons when I get friend requests on Facebook? Why are these tactics being used? Why, if a man looks at me, now it's a tactic. Now they're purposely using gang stalkers to look at me and do the tactic. It's so annoying. It's so annoying. But genuinely, when guys have looked up at me, they have dived birds down. Why are you doing that? Why are you trying to perpetuate this narrative of don't want and vapid thirst? This is a lot deeper than you just trying to push another false narrative to teach me a lesson. No, you're trying to hurt me for real over this man. Every day I'm dealing with them bullying me and antagonizing me over a man that I was not in a relationship with, that I do not care about. And I'm now saying it very bluntly and sounding like a bitch. Every day. I'm the one who should be following you screaming, I don't like, because you're the one doing stuff and who has been doing stuff for years. I'm the one who should be screaming and following you and saying, I don't like. But I don't have to do it because actions speak louder than words, and you know I didn't. So why is it that you feel the need to keep following me and perpetuating this don't like thing? And like you have to run me down and keep doing, why? Okay. All right, y'all. So I just had to document that. It was another one of those moments. And then the ref campaign in the road and stuff. I'm just like, what is this? Then I go to work last night, y'all, they're torturing me more. Instead of beaming my head with the energy weapon, they're taking the internet. Every 5 seconds, they're taking the internet. It said something about weird. They took the internet. It's just non-stop torture, y'all, and references about that situation. They will not let me move on. They're pulling dudes from the old gym, his friends, and putting it into the new gym. They will not let me move on. Actually, funny enough, y'all, the last time, because they got so damn desperate to, or bold, or whatever it is with him, they actually pulled him out of the gym now, and he actually was in the store with me. This happened about 2-3 months ago, maybe like 2 months ago. I'm losing track of time, y'all. I'm in the new gym at this point. He comes into the grocery store. I'm leaving the grocery store. He's at the register as I'm leaving the grocery store. I said, what? That's the man from the gym. It's like I'm having nightmares about the dude. I'm like, am I hallucinating now? Is that the man from the gym? It's like I'm having night terrors about the damn thing. I see him at the damn register. And so in my head, I just thought, is that the man from the gym? It was like a day terror moment where I'm just like, oh my God. Like I'm having terrors about the damn thing. I see him at the register in my head. I was like, oh my God. I said, is that the man from the gym? I just thought it. They can... My bad, y'all. My video got interrupted again. Anyway, so like I said, when I saw him, my heart dropped and not in a good way. Not like butterflies, like, oh, I'm happy to see this person, like this is somebody I haven't seen in a long time. Like sheer terror, y'all, because I'm so traumatized with what they have been doing to me. When I saw him, I just absent-mindedly thought, isn't that the man from the gym? Because he has this unique way that he dresses and stuff. It's like you can tell this is that person, right? And his back was to me. So I remember thinking, is that the man from the gym? And remember with the neuromonitoring, y'all, remember that's what this whole video was about, neuromonitoring, brain-to-computer interface, and PTSD. He heard my thought. They're all hearing my thoughts. In real time, they hear your thoughts. Your thoughts are being projected in real time. The man whipped around so fast He whipped around so fast, I kept my head straight, no eye contact. I did not look at him. I would not look in his direction. And then when I kept my head straight, then I saw him whip back around and then he put the phone to his ear and whatever he did, and I bust straight up out of there. So I'm not the one doing stuff. They're like running me down, chasing me down, screaming, he don't like you, and insulting me and tearing me down and trying to degrade and humiliate me. And I'm just trying to live my life peacefully and move on from the situation. We were not together. I didn't hurt him. I hurt his feelings because he was hurting mine first. He was actually for a whole month attacking me for no reason. It was like an unprovoked random attack. So one day I thought hurtful things, and it's like, I can't move. I can't get a break now. And you're running me down and you're screaming, he doesn't like me. You put his girlfriend on top of me. I'm in a new gym. You're sending some of his old friends that were like goons in the old gym into the new gym. You're tearing me down and trying to humiliate me every day. He's popping up in the story. He hasn't done it since that moment. I haven't seen him since then. And whipping around when I just simply think, is that the man from the gym? Like, what's going on? But then you're at the same time screaming, he doesn't like you, you gorilla. Well, then the actions that you're doing aren't really helping the case. That's all I'm going to say. Just leave me alone. Because I don't feel the need, as much as I'm the one who should be screaming that with all of the tactics and the things that they're doing. I'm the one who should be screaming that. I'm not doing that because my actions spoke loud enough. And so I feel vindicated in what took place. I don't feel like I need to scream at the top of my lungs that I don't like the person. It's like they're having some sort of complex where I don't know what it is, y'all. But I'm over the situation. Then they're recruiting white people. It would be very easy to recruit white people. I offended them. I shared offensive content 4 years ago, by the way, y'all. And I've already apologized. And they're using the guys that created the content as gang stalkers. And you're not attacking them. But anyways, nonetheless, I've genuinely apologized. It was 4 years ago when I shared the content. It was reactive abuse. I was being stalked, tortured, and harassed in Florida while I was living in my vehicle. Anyway, nonetheless, they were easily able to recruit white people and try and push the false narrative. Oh, this is about white people. No, it's not. Or else he would have been doing it the whole time that I was in the gym with him. Why randomly just then when he decided to do it? It's not making sense. Whatever it's about, though, y'all, I don't care. Like I said, I'm not here to argue the semantics or the specifics or the particulars. I don't care. I'm ready to move on from the situation. Let me move on from the situation. Leave me alone. Anyways, y'all. So I just have to add this part in because it's like this constant attack all day long where they're attacking me over this damn situation. Over this man. I'm in a whole new gym. I'm still getting attacked all day long. And then you have like goons on the road that are like, I guess his friends or whoever revving by on top of me. And it's just, I can't deal with it. All right, y'all. That's it. I'll talk to you in the next one. I had to document. The abuse continues or has been continuing. Even this morning, y'all, there was more activity this morning. More stupid shit that I'm not going to give attention to. And I'm not going to talk about it in this video. It's like every damn day. They were just sending stuff again with the technology too. That's why I'm finishing the video. I keep procrastinating to finish the video. That's to tell you I'm so tired of talking about this shit. But then they do more stuff and I'm like, okay, let me finish the video. Let me finish that video I'm making. Anyways, y'all. All right, peace out.